Chapter 175. Feng Haidang. Mu Yin softly reads the name, her brows slightly wrinkling. She felt that the name sounded familiar. Suddenly, she had a flash of inspiration and her expression changed slightly. The man your parents betrothed you to, could it be Zhao Tianxiang, the son of Jingcheng country's formidable great general? Feng Haitang's eyes widened. How did you know? How did she know? An eerie chill flits through Mayan's eyes. It's true that Zhao Tianxiang is the son of Jingcheng country's great general, but this person is a waste without any cultivation talent. Not only was he trash, he was also extremely cruel and tyrannical. His greatest hobby in life was to rape and kill female cultivators who were stronger than him. Among them, the most miserable was Zhao Tianxiang's official wife, Feng Haitang. Because Feng Haitang was the most unruly and stubborn among all of Zhao Tianxiang's women, she was also the most oppressed. In the end, in order to prevent her from committing suicide, Zhao Tianxiang even chopped off her hands and feet and cut off her tongue. Just like that, she lived a life that was neither a human nor a ghost and was humiliated and abused by him every day. Feng Haitang lived like this for 3 whole years before he found an opportunity to commit suicide. In his previous life, it was Gong Qinxue who had arranged the marriage between Feng Haitang and Zhao Tianxiang. At that time, Gong Qinxue's face was full of pity and remorse. She said that she didn't expect Zhao Tianxiang to be this kind of person, saying that she had let Feng Haitang down. Now that he thought about it, all of this, from beginning to end, was arranged by Gong Qinxue. This included the annulment of the engagement between the Feng and Yin families, the annihilation of the Yin family, and the eventual marriage of Feng Haitang to Zhao Tianxiang. In the end, Yin Haoyin's family was destroyed and he was sold as a slave. Feng Haitang lived a short life worse than death. Gong Qinxue, on the other hand, obtained a loyal servant and even obtained great benefits from Zhao Tianxiang's father. Hee, what a ruthless scheme. What a sinister heart. Unknowingly, Mayan's body exudes a fierce and cold aura. Even though Feng Haitang's cultivation wasn't low, her forehead was covered in sweat, and she couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. Not far away, a screen shook slightly because of Feng Haitang's muffled groan. Mu Yin abruptly comes back to her senses, restraining the killing intent that surges from her memories. He stared at Feng Haitang. Since you're already engaged, why did you come to find Yin Haoyin? I will never marry anyone else. Feng Haitang said resolutely, when I was very young, I swore that I would marry Haoyin and become his wife. The screen not far from the room swayed imperceptibly again. It was just that Feng Haitang was too agitated to notice. Mu Yin glanced at the screen, then continued. Even if his face is now covered in scars, his appearance is no longer there? Yes. Feng Haitang nodded without hesitation. No matter what he looks like, Haoyin will always be the one in my heart. Mu Yin, however, is not moved. Instead, she is aggressive. Even if his family is ruined and he doesn't have an illustrious family background, and he's still just one of my subordinates? Feng Haitang's eyes were so bright that they seemed to be burning. Haoyin is just Haoyin. It has nothing to do with his family background or status. Even if his tongue is cut off and he can't speak anymore, or even a cripple in the eyes of others. Feng Haitang's entire body suddenly trembled, and then tears fell down like a broken string of pearls. Chapter 176. Mayan glances at the screen, then looks back at Feng Haitang. He can be said to have nothing now. His body is broken. Do you really not care? I don't care. I don't care at all. Feng Haitang couldn't bear it anymore. She jumps off the bed, stepping barefoot on the ground, and says loudly, Girl, I beg you, tell me where Haoyin is, okay? I just want to see him. I want to stay by his side. Even if he hates me and blames me, I will never leave him. I, Feng Haitang, have set my mind on him in this life. Her hoarse and trembling voice is filled with a resolute determination without any regrets. At this moment, a gentle smile finally emerges on Mayan's face. She glances at the screen and unhurriedly says, Yin Haoyin, did you hear that? Feng Haitang stares blankly when she hears that. She abruptly turns around and looks at the screen. She sees the screen slightly sway again, and a tall figure slowly walks out from behind it. It's Yin Haoyin. Haoyin. Feng Haiteng suddenly throws herself into his arms, tightly hugging him, and lets out a heart-wrenching cry. Hao Yin, I finally found you. Don't push me away again, okay? I've really been looking for you for a long time. Yin Haoyin's whole body is stiff, his hands are raised in the air, and he doesn't move for a long time. However, his reddened eyes and trembling muscles betray his current mood. However, after a long time, Yin Haoyin still resolutely pushes Feng Haiteng away. The pity, longing, deep love, and longing in his eyes are completely restrained at this moment. Yin Haoyin takes a step back, looking at Feng Haiteng with a cold and indifferent expression, shaking his head at a distance. His lips noiselessly open and close. Go, I don't want to see you. Feng Haiteng is like being struck by lightning. Her tears seem to flow endlessly. She wipes them away, but they keep gushing out. Pain flashes through Yin Haoyin's eyes, but soon after, he clenches his teeth and salutes Mayan. Without hesitation, he turns around and leaves. It's just that, without waiting for him to leave, Mayan's unhurried words almost make him stumble. TSK, now you're pretending to have a heart of stone. When she fainted, don't be so anxious that you kept screaming, begging me to save her. Yin Haoyin stood stiffly on the spot. After a long time, he opened the door in a panic and ran away. Feng Haiteng stared blankly at his retreating figure. A hint of joy slowly appeared in her eyes that were originally filled with despair. Could it be that Hao Tian wasn't heartless towards her? But, that blockhead, he just thinks that he's a cripple now, and doesn't deserve you, that's all. Mu Yin said in a timely manner. Yin Haoyin pushed Feng Haiteng away with good intentions. However, he had never thought that such an action could possibly push Feng Haiteng into an endless hell. Feng Haiteng bit her lower lip, her face alternating between happiness and sadness. Suddenly, she faces Mayan and kneels down with a thud. Miss June, I would like to ask a favor of you. Tell me about it. I want to recognize you as my master and stay by your side. Recognize me as your master? This time, Mu Yin was really surprised. Feng Haiteng nods heavily, her eyes brimming with unswerving determination. You saved Haoyin's life from the ghost city. You are Haoyin's savior, so you are also my savior. You are Haoyin's master, so you are also my master. I beg you to fulfill my wish, let me follow by your side. Even if I have to work like an ox or a horse, I'm willing. She said that she wants to follow by my side, but in fact, she wants to follow by that blockhead Yin Haoyin's side. Chapter 177. This is my own decision. Feng Haiteng raised her eyebrows, her beautiful face revealing an untamed heroic spirit. I, Feng Haiteng, have set my sights on him for the rest of my life. No one can oppose me, including himself. Mu Yin couldn't help but chuckle. After wiping away her tears, this Feng Haiteng was really indescribably heroic, hardy, and handsome. Such a woman was stubborn and unrestrained. She was not afraid of the secular world and did not have the reserved shyness that belonged to a woman. It was truly rare to find such a woman in this world, but she liked it. All right, I promise you. From now on, you will stay by my side. Mu Yin slowly says, Feng Haiteng, I promise that as long as you and Yin Haoyin are by my side, I will definitely keep you safe and sound. In this lifetime, she hoped that she could use her own strength. He wished for this pair of ill-fated mandarin ducks to be able to live a peaceful and happy life and finally get married. The next day, when Yin Haoyin sees Feng Haiteng standing beside Mu Yin, a pair of bell-like eyes almost pop out. Mayan finds it funny. Starting from today, Haiteng will be like you, also my subordinate, and will work hard for me for 5 years. What? You have a problem with that? Yin Haoyin opened his mouth wide, but no sound came out. He only looked at Feng Haiteng anxiously. But today, the situation was reversed. Feng Haiteng doesn't even look at him, but wraps a silk handkerchief for Mayan and hands it to her. Miss, please use it. Ah. Yin Haoyin finally couldn't help but let out a hurried exclamation. Feng Haiteng came from a wealthy family and had been the daughter of a wealthy family since she was young. How could she be subservient and serve others for his sake? However, before he could speak, The voices of Ru Yin and Old Tao came from the door, asking to see him. Yin Haoyan had no choice but to swallow his words, but his gaze kept darting towards Feng Haiteng from time to time. On the other hand, Feng Haiteng is looking down, expressionlessly standing behind Mu Yin and Xiao Bao, just like a personal maid. Reporting to Miss, this is the account book for this month's Junji drugstore. Ru Yin hands over a book. Mu Yin casually flipped through it and nodded in satisfaction. You did very well. Although it's only been half a month since Ru Yin took over Junji drugstore, the results are really good. Nowadays, the shop's income doesn't only come from Mayan's special drafts, but also from other herbs and drafts. But after reporting, Ru Yin and Old Tao didn't leave. Instead, they looked at Mu Yin as if they wanted to say something. Miss, can we participate in the ink camp's training together? In the end, it's still Old Tao who can't help but laugh awkwardly. In this half a month, the progress of the dozen or so people from the ink camp is obvious to all. It was not an exaggeration to say that his strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Seeing Old Tao and Ru Yan's anxious appearance, Mu Yin couldn't help but laugh. What, are you jealous? The two of them chuckled, feeling a little embarrassed, but in the end, they still admitted it openly. That Changyu only used half a month to break through from the profound stage to the early earth stage. If this matter were to spread out, I'm afraid that all the martial artists in Xi'an would be envious. Ru Yin smiled sweetly and said, Miss, we promise that even if we participate in the training, we will not delay the shop's business. However, Mu Yin shook his head. This training is not suitable for you. Chapter 178. Among the four people in the room, Ru Yin and Feng Haiteng were Earth Stage Intermediate, Yin Haoyan was Earth Stage High, and Old Tao was already Earth Stage Peak. What draft? Ru Yin gulps. Mayan hooks up the corner of her lips, a smile that isn't a smile. Oh, it's probably a special draft that's twice as expensive as the filter of barrier breaking. Gulp. Ru Yin and Old Tao both gulped. Even Yin Haoyan showed a shocked expression. Twice as expensive as the filter of barrier breaking? What kind of heaven-defying draft would that be? After the shock, they were wild with joy. Ru Yin and Old Tao even bowed deeply. Subordinates will definitely do their best to serve master. Yin Haoyan looks at Feng Haidang, then looks at Mu Yin. His original thought of persuading her to leave had faded. That's because he realizes how powerful this master of his is, and how expensive and heaven-defying the drafts that she provides are. For Haiteng to be able to follow Mayan, perhaps it's her good fortune. By the way, Mississippi, Old Tao suddenly stopped smiling foolishly. These 2 days, it seems like there are always strangers loitering around the drugstore. Rather than saying that they want to buy drafts, it would be better to say that they're here to scout. Halfway through his sentence, Old Tao stopped, because he discovered that Xiao Bao, who was sitting in Mayan's embrace, was looking at him with a face full of disdain. Did he do something wrong? Why did little master look like he was an idiot? Did I say something wrong? Old Tao looked at Xiao Bao cautiously. Xiao Bao pulled a long face and said, Idiot, they've already been wandering around for 5 days. He only realized it now. Old Tao and Ru Yin looked at each other, wishing they could find a hole to hide in. Even the little master, a 4-year-old child, had discovered it, yet they had not. It was only when the other party came closer that he vaguely sensed it. He had lost all his face. Old Tao sweats as he looks at Mayan. Miss, do you need this subordinate to get rid of all these people? Of course not. Mu Yin pinches her son's little face. Then she says unhurriedly, These people are the ink camp's best whetstones. If they were disposed of by you, wouldn't it be a big loss? Late at night, the crescent moon was like a hook. In Mayan's boudoir, she and Xiao Bao were sleeping in each other's embrace, having a good dream. He's completely unaware that a group of people have quietly sneaked into Junji drugstore's backyard. 8 black figures, like ghosts, jumped down from the high roof. Second brother, after observing Jun Mayan for the past few days, no matter how you look at her, she's just an ordinary alchemist. She's too weak to even stand up to a gust of wind, and she even has a child. Are you sure this woman killed our commander? Humph, you also said that she is an alchemist. Maybe this slut used some despicable method to secretly harm our captain on the War Beast stage. What's more, the matter of Commander Yin Lai being killed by this woman was told to us by Princess Chinchua. Princess Chinchua has deep feelings for our commander. How could she possibly deceive us? Since this woman killed our captain, we must avenge him. The 8 people gather together, lowering their voices as they quietly discuss how to silently abduct Mayan and avenge their commander, Yin Lai. Why do I feel that this courtyard is a little strange? Why aren't there any guards? Shanzi, how come your courage is getting smaller and smaller? Among the 8 of us, there are 6 in Earth stage. Don't tell me that we can't even handle a mere apothecary? Pfft. An irrepressible laughter comes from the corner of the courtyard. Chapter 179. Why are you so impatient? Didn't you say you were going to launch a sneak attack? How am I supposed to sneak attack you when you laugh at me like that? Haha, is there a need to launch a sneak attack against this kind of trash? This disdainful laughter, as well as the casual words that don't put them in their eyes, made the raging Inferno mercenary group feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Who are you? Come out. Oh no, there's an ambush in this courtyard. Amidst the ruckus, Chang Yu stood up from the bushes, waved his hand and said, "Don't fucking hide, just attack." Okay. With a shout, 10 people scurried out in a flash, surrounding the 8 people of the raging Inferno mercenary group. The people of the raging Inferno mercenary group were first startled, but when they discovered the cultivation level of the people surrounding them, they couldn't help but laugh out loud. After boasting so much, I thought they were some powerful figures. So they're just a bunch of fucking rabble. Ha ha ha, there are more than 10 of them, but only 2 of them have reached the Earth stage. And they still want to fight with us? You're overestimating yourself. The only man in the raging Inferno mercenary group who is at the peak of Earth stage waves his hand, his eyes revealing an ominous glint. Brothers, let's go. Kill this group of trash. That June Mayan will still be ours. I heard that bitch is a great beauty. Whoever kills the most people tonight, that bitch will be rewarded to you, and you can play with her for the night. Boss is mighty. The people of the raging Inferno mercenary group laugh and laugh heartily as they take the lead to attack, completely not putting the people of the Ink Camp in their eyes. The corner of Chang Yu's mouth hooks up into a cold smile. He says in a clear voice, "Brothers of the Ink Camp, let this group of idiots know how powerful we are. Kill." The crescent moon was like a hook, and the night was cool. However, the small courtyard was filled with a chilling killing intent. From time to time, there would be screams and howls of pain. Time passed very slowly. After an entire hour, this battle finally came to an end. Of the 8 people from the raging Inferno mercenary group, 7 of them were lying on the ground, groaning in pain, unconscious, or with their heads separated from their bodies. The only one who could still stand was the peak of the Earth realm. He was aghast and couldn't believe what had just happened. On the other hand, the dozen or so people from the Ink Camp, apart from a few cultivators who were injured, there were almost no casualties. Chang Yu still had a head in his hand as he stared coldly at the remaining soldiers. Who are you people? Why was it that a mere group of profound-level ancient martial art practitioners could cause the elites of the raging Inferno mercenary group to be unable to retaliate? Not to mention that he, Zhao Shan, was at the peak of the Earth rank, the 3rd in command of the raging Inferno mercenary group. However, he was actually beaten by this motley crew to the point where he was unable to retaliate? How was this possible? Each and every one of the people from the Ink Camp shows a sinister smile. Someone even licked the blood at the corner of his mouth and said excitedly, "Damn it, I've been training every day for the past few days and have been tortured like a dog. Today, I can finally vent my frustrations on these bastards." As expected, I still like the feeling of crushing my opponents the most. But I have to say, Miss June is really too awesome. It's only been a short half-month of training, and our Ink Camp is actually able to get rid of a group of peak Earth stages. Chang Yu tossed the head away and wiped his bloody hands on his face. Chapter 180. He waves his hand and says, "Brothers, let's kill him." The little master said that as long as we perfectly complete the test today, He would reward us with new drafts, guaranteeing that each of us would advance within a year. Zhao Shan's eyes are filled with amazement. The cultivation of these dozen people in front of him really isn't high. However, they follow orders and prohibitions, advancing and retreating together, as if they're one person. The battle has just begun, but the 8 of them are forced to disperse, except for Changyu, who's holding him back. The other brothers are surrounded and strangled one by one, and it could be said that they don't have the strength to fight back. The most frightening thing is the internal force that these people use in battle. They're obviously only profound stage, but they're completely unafraid of the pressure of an earth stage, and even suppress them instead. And such a team is actually single-handedly created by Junmayan. At this moment, a thought suddenly flashes past Zhao Shan's ears. Junmayan killed Commander Yin Lai in front of everyone in the Ghost City's Beast Fighting Coliseum. He always thought that this was just a rumor, that Junmayan had used a crafty plot. But what if this matter was true? A person that even Commander Yin Lai, a peak heaven stage, isn't his match? How could they possibly kill him? So, in tonight's operation, they've come to throw away their lives from the beginning? Thinking of this, Zhao Shan's courage is almost broken, and he turns around to flee. Changyu and the others didn't expect that this expert at the peak of Earth stage wouldn't even dare to fight them properly, and would just run away with his tail between his legs. They see that figure cross over the wall, heading towards the neighboring courtyard. Changyu and the others shiver inwardly. We mustn't let him escape. Let's chase. However, without waiting for the ink camp to act, a figure flits past like a stream of light, following Zhao Shan over the wall, and falls into the neighboring courtyard. Changyu and the others stare blankly. That figure just now was too fast. They simply couldn't see who it was. They're hesitating whether or not to follow and take a look. A childish voice suddenly comes from behind them. Tonight, your performance was pretty good. The ink camp people turn around, and under the moonlight, they see a handsome, fairy-like little boy, expressionlessly looking at them. The bright moonlight falls on his body, as if it's sprinkling his whole body with silver light. The dozen or so people from the ink camp feel it, and they uniformly kneel down, shouting, "Greetings, little master." When they realized that Xiao Bao was praising them, they were shocked. These boorish butchers were so excited that their eyes turned red and their bodies trembled. They wanted nothing more than to howl at the sky. Only Changyu was able to keep his composure. "Little master, there's a thief who ran to the courtyard next door. We need to—" "There's no need," Xiao Bao interrupted him. "Nyang Qin has already gone over." "Ho!" The people of the ink camp simultaneously suck in a mouthful of cold air. Then they observe a moment of silence for the fish that escaped the net. If Miss June were to personally take action, his fate would definitely be incomparably miserable. Xiao Bao couldn't help but frown slightly as he gazed in the direction of the courtyard with a slightly dazed expression. Actually, he also wanted to take a look at that courtyard. That man seemed to have not appeared for a long time. Zhao Shan fled to the neighboring courtyard in a sorry state. He was worried that he had entered another place full of tigers and wolves. But she finds that the courtyard next to Junji drugstore is completely empty. There's not even the sound of chickens crowing and dogs barking. There was no one chasing after him. Zhao Shan let out a long sigh of relief. This time, he had finally escaped death. Chapter 181. Did Gong Qianxue ask you to come? This voice can be said to be very pleasing to the ear, but Zhao Shan's hair stands on end. He says with a trembling voice, "Who? Come out. Quickly come out." Not far away, there's a flash of light. Under the moonlight, a young girl in black slowly walks over. The hazy night can't hide her devastatingly beautiful appearance, especially that pair of eyes that seem to be angry and happy at the same time, distant and enchanting. Just looking at those eyes, Zhao Shan's whole body stiffens, unable to move, until the girl slowly walks in front of him. So close that he can see the girl's delicate and flawless ice skin. So close that he can see the girl's long and dense fan-like eyelashes. And when those eyelashes blink, a cold glint flows out. Zhao Shan suddenly has a flash of inspiration and blurts out, "You're the one who killed our leader, Junmayan." Mayan looks at him with a smile that isn't a smile. "So you're from the Raging Inferno mercenary group." visiting my small courtyard in the middle of the night. What do you want? You killed our leader, Yanlai. I'm here for revenge. Mayan shakes her head and sighs. Who told you that Yanlai is dead? What? Princess Qinshue clearly said that you killed him. Do you believe whatever Gong Qinshue says? A lily-white hand gently rests on his shoulder and Mayan chuckles. Go to the waste disposal center near the east gate of the Ghost City. Maybe you can still see your leader there? Zhao Shan's pupils fiercely contract. Is what you said true? If you don't believe me, why don't you go and see for yourself? Zhao Shan is even more alarmed and suspicious. You're willing to let me go? Mayan spreads out her hands, her smile bright and full of temptation. Go ahead. Zhao Shan swallows, finally unable to resist the temptation. He turns around and leaves. He doesn't notice that there's a faintly discernible silver powder on his shoulder. This powder is the latest draft that Mayan has refined. This draft won't take effect on Zhao Shan himself, but it will take effect on the people he's been in contact with. Moreover, the effect of its effects is very interesting. If Zhao Shan finds Yanlai and knows the truth of Gong Qinshue saving Yanlai, he would certainly go back and question Gong Qinshue, right? There's a smile on Mayan's face, but there's no trace of a smile in her eyes. What Gong Qinshue owed her in her previous life, she would take it back bit by bit, with interest. Gently blowing away the remaining powder in her hand, Mayan is about to leave when she suddenly stops, because she also discovered that this courtyard was terrifyingly empty. There was not a single trace of smoke or fire. Mu Yin frowns slightly and can't help but walk into the house. She pushed open the front door of the living room, and the dust on the beams fell down. Mu Yan's fingers lightly slide over the dusty table. It must have been at least half a month since it was inhabited, right? So, Deming Ju had already left? Without a word or greeting, he came and went as he pleased? Mu Yin stood there in a daze for a long time. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth rose, revealing a somewhat self-deprecating smile. They were strangers who met by chance and had nothing to do with each other. Come and go as you please? Wasn't it obvious? What is her relationship with Deming Ju? Why did that man need to inform her before he left? It was just that they had never met before, and there was no chance for them to meet again. Mayan flicks her sleeve, turns around, and floats away. Chapter 182. Junsheng had originally said that he would be back in half a month at the latest. However, half a month has passed and Junsheng still shows no signs of waking up. Did something happen to the Xiuxian continent? A noise suddenly comes from above. Han Yi looks up and hears Miss Mayan's voice. Should I go up and tell Miss Mayan that Junsheng has something to do and hasn't returned? But after thinking about it, Han Yi still restrains himself and remains by Deming Ju's side. Right now, the most important thing to him was Junsheng's safety. Han Yi doesn't know that in the near future, because of this decision of his, he would want nothing more than to kill himself. As the reputation of the special drafts that Mayan refines spreads throughout Xi'an, coupled with Miss Ru Yan's proper management, Junji Drugstore's business is becoming more and more prosperous. Even when there's no special drafts for sale, it's still packed with people. However, it was different from the hustle and bustle of the shop outside. At this moment, the small courtyard behind him was very quiet. In the space, the green grass was lush and the breeze was gentle. The fat rabbit rolled over on the grass and couldn't help but raise its head and look into the distance. His bean-like eyes blinked, revealing a trace of doubt. What were the little master and the female devil doing? Why was there a huge cauldron in front of them? The fat rabbit tilts its head and suddenly sits up. It hops towards Mu Yin and Xiao Bao's direction. Mother, the only thing I can refine now is the clear heart pill. This is the sky heart flower. This is the crow-tongue orchid, and there are 9 three-tailed wind leaves. Xiao Bao's little face is taut as he seriously and rigorously places the required herbs in front of Mayan. Mu Yan's line of sight shifts from the pill recipe in her hand to her son's face. She gently pinches his little face. Thank you, Xiao Bao. Looking at the furnace in front of her and the draft ingredients on the side, Mayan slightly frowns. There's a trace of hesitation. The current her, in terms of refining drafts, can already be said to have reached great heights. But alchemy was a domain that she had never come into contact with before. Elixirs and draft, there's only a difference of one word, but the difference is like heaven and earth. It could be said that in the Yinwu continent, there are a lot of apothecaries, but alchemists are few and far between. The reason was none other than the fact that one needed a special inheritance to concoct pills. Without that mysterious inheritance, even if you obtained the formula, you would not be able to succeed. But Mu Yin slightly narrows her eyes. With a wave of her hand, the burning match drops down, and the bottom of the pill furnace immediately ignites. It was said that one could not refine pills without inheritance, but she refused to believe it, especially when he thought of Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng in his previous life. Thinking about how she and her child were going to be refined into pills by Jianfeng, the hatred in her heart surged like a torrential river. In this life, she wanted Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng to die without a burial place, and even more so, she wanted them to lose all their standing and reputation and lose everything. Mother, little Bao's voice sounded in her ear. It's time for you to release the Skyheart flower. Mu Yin comes back to her senses, the coldness and killing intent in her eyes receding like a tide, turning into gentleness. Later, when Mother is refining, Xiaobao should stay far away. You mustn't let yourself get hurt, understand? This time, Xiaobao did not act stubbornly and obediently nodded. As the temperature of the Dan furnace gets higher and higher, Mayan cautiously puts the herbs into the furnace. The next step was the most important one. He melted all the herbs according to their order and then fused them together. Chapter 183. Mayan sits cross-legged next to the Dan furnace. The internal force within her body slowly revolves, sending it into the furnace. As the qi merged with the alchemic fire, the originally orange-red flame was dyed with a trace of blue, and the drafts in the furnace also began to melt one by one. Xiaobao stood in the distance, staring at Mu Yin with wide eyes, his big ice-blue eyes filled with worry. He doesn't know when, but the fat rabbit has also hopped to his side, rubbing against his feet, then tilting its head to watch Mayan's movements. All the herbs have completely melted, and Mayan's forehead is already faintly sweating. But her expression did not change in the slightest, and the profound energy output was incomparably stable. Mysterious energy controls the flame, and the flame forms a wave of air, beginning to fuse the different drafts together. He was about to succeed, but suddenly there was a loud bang, and a mushroom cloud rose in the air. A huge airwave surged out. Mu Yin quivered and quickly turned around. She hugged Xiaobao and jumped more than 10 meters away. However, the aftershock of the furnace's explosion still affected her body. In an instant, the mother and daughter, as well as the rabbit, were all covered in dust. Mu Yin coughed, looked at the pill furnace that had already exploded into pieces not far away, and sighed. As expected, it did not succeed. If alchemy was that easy, then Yinwu continent's alchemists wouldn't be so scarce. Xiaobao doesn't care about his little face that has been blackened, and promptly comforts Mayan. Yang Qin will succeed one day. The fat rabbit shook its fat body and shook its fur. He raised his mung bean eyes and looked at the female demon and his young master. Should he tell the female devil that alchemy required spiritual power? You can't refine pills just by relying on profound qi. The fat rabbit jumped and was about to jump into Xiao Bao's bosom. Suddenly, a loud noise came from outside the space. What's going on? Why was there so much smoke in the backyard? Is there a fire somewhere? Where are Miss June and young master? Who was the arsonist? Could it be that those thieves haven't given up and are coming to attack us again? Hey, the smoke is coming from Mrs. Room, but I don't see anyone. Nothing was burned down? What the hell is going on? In the space, Xiaobao and Mu Yin looked at each other. Cough, baby, how about Yang Qin take you out to eat? Mu Yin asked with a smile. However, at this moment, her face was covered in dust. When she smiled, only her pearly white teeth could be seen. Her eyes were bright and beautiful, but she no longer had the beauty that could topple cities. Xiaobao is the same. On his originally fair and handsome little face, only a pair of big and watery blue eyes are left, looking at Mayan. It was indescribably cute. Mu Yin couldn't help but burst out laughing, then couldn't help but shake her head. This Tian Mo Chin hasn't been upgraded. The stability of the space is too poor. A random explosion actually caused thick smoke to leak out. If the group of people in the courtyard knew that the thick smoke was caused by her failure in alchemy, Mu Yin feels that she can't afford to lose this person. Xi'an City, guest restaurant. At noon, the restaurant was full of guests, and it was very lively. The guests gathered in twos and threes, chatting as they ate. Suddenly, a soft cry came from the door, causing everyone in the hall to look over. At the door, a group of 3 people strolled in. The 3 of them were all dressed in white, with long swords hanging from their waists. Behind them were a man and a woman. The man was handsome, and the woman was beautiful. Chapter 184. They don't know why, but they can't even see this youth's face. Most people's gazes are still involuntarily drawn to him, because this man's temperament is extraordinary and refined, cold and clear. Standing in the crowd, he's like a crane in a flock of chickens. Even if he doesn't reveal his face, people still can't help but stare at him. Look at the jade card on their waists. These people are Ziyangzong's disciples. Ah, could it be the Ziyangzong that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the Heavenly Road sect in Huangyao? The Ziyangzong that produced the heaven's prideful son, by Yi Chen? The chatter of the crowd reaches Xin Xiaoro's ears. Feeling everyone's envious gazes on the 3 of them, her face shows a proud expression. Her gaze involuntarily falls on the masked youth, her eyes brimming with adoration and love. How could these ordinary people know? The person standing before them is the famous Dustless Swordsman by Yi Chen in Yinwu Continent, and she is by Yi Chen's junior sister. Every day, she can get along with this celestial-like man. Thinking of this, Shen Xiaoro's smile becomes even more charming. She steps forward and takes by Yi Chen's hand. Senior brother, look over there. There's an empty seat. Let's sit there. But before she could finish speaking, the youth coldly withdraws his hand and goes straight to the empty seat. Shen Xiaoro stomps her feet, then promptly follows. Arriving in front of Bai Yi Chen, she immediately shows a charming and flattering smile. Senior brother, what do you want to eat? I heard that this restaurant's signature dish is very good. However, Bai Yi Chen still doesn't pay attention to her. On the contrary, there's a faint worry in his eyes. Senior brother, don't worry too much. Another white-clothed youth, Gao Chenyu, comforts. Lin Jr.'s sister is a virtuous person. Heaven helps her. She will definitely turn misfortune into fortune. As soon as Shen Xiaoro hears the 3 words Lin Senior's sister, she immediately grits her teeth. Only after a long while does she suppress the disgust in her heart, saying in a sweet voice, maybe it's because it's Xidong's first time leaving the sect and she thought it was fun, so she forgot the time. Senior brother, you're so tired of worrying about her here. It's really too. Before she could finish her words, Bai Yi Chen's cold gaze swept over her, immediately causing her to shiver, not daring to continue speaking. Gao Chenyu immediately retorts, Junior sister Lin has always been particularly well-behaved and sensible. How could she disappear for so many days without a word of warning? Do you think it's you? Shen Xiaoro is so angry that her nose is crooked. She fiercely glares at Gao Chenyu, then looks aggrieved at Bai Yi Chen. Unfortunately, both of them ignored her. Shen Xiaoro was so angry that she fiercely flicked her sleeves, but her hand accidentally hit a passerby. Then, he heard a clear and melodious voice, manager. Bring me all of your signature dishes, quickly. Shen Xiaoro withdrew her hand, only to discover that her snow-white sleeves were covered in dust. When he turned around, he saw 2 dusty beggars, one big and one small, sitting not far from his table. The dust on her clothes was from the 2 beggars. Shen Xiaoro originally had a belly full of anger, but she couldn't vent it on Bai Yi Chen. Right now, she finally found an outlet to vent. Where did these beggars come from? Do you have eyes? Do you know how much this lady's heavenly silkworm snow robe is worth? If I dirty it, can you 2 poor beggars pay for it? Chapter 185. This scream immediately attracts the attention of everyone in the restaurant. And at the next table, Mayan finally realizes that this shrill and noisy voice, like that of a fly, is cursing her and Xiao Bao. TSK. They are actually regarded as beggars? Although the clothes they were wearing now were quite shabby. Mayan raises her head with a smile that isn't a smile and looks towards the source of the voice. However, when she sees that woman's appearance, she can't help but raise her eyebrows. It's really a small world. She didn't expect that she would run into an acquaintance when she casually brought her baby out for a meal. Xiao, the precious daughter of her adoptive father and mother. In her previous life, Mayan was bullied a lot by this young lady when she was in the Xin family. Even when she was schemed against, lost her innocence, and became pregnant with Xiao, it was all inextricably linked to this woman and her mother. Xiao can't help but stare blankly at Mayan's eyes that are as bright as stars. She didn't expect that this dirty beggar would have such a pair of beautiful eyes. Moreover, these eyes are very similar to that of the woman she loathed in those days. This makes Xiao's attitude even worse. What are you looking at? Still not getting out? Is this a place where a filthy thing like you should come to? Really shameless. You want to freeload for food and drink, right? Shopkeeper, what are you still staring at? Still not kicking her out for me? This arrogant and despotic appearance makes the surrounding diners shake their heads again and again. Even Gao Qinyu can't help but say, Xiao, restrain yourself. On the other hand, Bai Yichin has a calm expression from beginning to end, but his probing eyes can't help but size up Mayan and Xiaobao. Restrain what? Xiao angrily says, did I say something wrong? Two beggars sitting next to us, won't that affect our appetite? What if Yichin brother isn't happy eating? Xiao, you're really as overbearing and selfish as ever. A sigh with a chuckle comes. Xiao stares blankly. She suddenly turns her head to look at Mayan, her expression cloudy and uncertain. You? How do you know my name? Who are you? Wait, this woman's eyes and her voice, they're all so familiar. It's almost exactly the same as that hateful woman in her impression. Xiao's pupils suddenly shrink, and she screams, June Mayan. You are June Mayan? Mayan chuckles. Congratulations, you guessed it right. Xiao glared at her. Why are you here? Didn't you die with my aunt and the others? 5 years ago, news came from the Su family. The Su family's small courtyard in the Nameless Valley was burned down overnight. There were several charred corpses inside, and their faces could no longer be recognized. In the end, she was able to identify from some clues that her aunt, cousin, cousin-in-law, cousin-sister, and Mayan were burned to death inside. But why would Mayan, who should have been dead for 5 years, appear here? Mu Yin says unhurriedly, it seems that you really hope that I'm dead. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Xiao's expression was cloudy and uncertain. His gaze suddenly fell on Xiaobao. She was stunned at first, then her eyes widened as if she suddenly remembered something. She said loudly, this is the little bastard you gave birth to with a wild man when you were pregnant before marriage? Mayan's line of sight suddenly darkens. There's a trace of coldness in her eyes, a trace of haze. Chapter 186. Xiao sees her complexion and thinks that she has touched her sore spot. Her complexion immediately turns from gloomy to sunny, and she chuckles. I really didn't expect it, June Mayan, that year. Not only did you not die, you even secretly hid away and gave birth to this little vile spawn. TSK. You even made yourself so miserable? Don't tell me you've been relying on begging and swindling to support yourself and your son all these years? Xiao's scream just now had already attracted the attention of most people. At this time, he hears her say that Mayan got pregnant out of wedlock and gave birth to a little bastard with a wild man. All of a sudden, each and every one of them looked at Mayan with a somewhat subtle expression. Even that Gao Qinyu originally wanted to pull Xiao back, so that she wouldn't be so excessive. When he heard those words, he could not help but be stunned. Even though Mu Yin is currently covered in dirt and dust, judging from her voice and figure, she is at most 18 or 19 years old. He actually had such a big child? Seeing this, Xiao becomes more and more complacent. With a face full of pity, she says, June Mayan, although you and I aren't related by blood, in any case, you've been raised in my Xin family for several years. Nominally, We can also be considered sisters. Seeing you living so miserably as your elder sister, I also feel very sorry. How about this? You take this money. At least it will be enough for you and your son to have a full meal." After that, he casually threw 2 gold coins on the table, his expression as if he was dismissing a beggar. "Here, these 2 gold coins should be enough for you to eat your fill, right? Waiter, what are you waiting for? Get her some food and let them go out to eat." Who knew that the waiter who was pointed at by Shinsharo would reveal a hesitant expression? This customer, you just ordered all of our restaurant's signature dishes. What kind of people had they not seen in a big restaurant like the Guest-Come restaurant? It was very common to see a high-level martial artist who was dressed in rags but could take out a huge fortune. Therefore, although Mu Yin and Xiao Bao were dirty, the waiter did not judge them by their appearance at all. Instead, he immediately followed her instructions and asked the kitchen to prepare all the signature dishes of the restaurant. Almost as soon as the waiter finished speaking, someone brought a few dishes over. Just the value of these 2 dishes exceeded the value of all the dishes on Shansharo's table, because these dishes were actually made with the meat of exotic beasts. Mu Yin leisurely smiled and pulled Xiao Bao to sit down. She casually picked up the chopsticks and was about to start eating. "Since Big Sister wants to show your sisterly affection, then I won't stand on ceremony. Today's meal, I'll treat it as Big Sister treating me. Xiao Bao, eat more. Someone's paying anyway. It'll be a waste if you don't eat." Xiao Bao nodded with a taut face. Then, he picked up his chopsticks and gave some to Mu Yin before he began to eat seriously with puffed cheeks. When Shinsharo saw this scene, she was so angry that her nose was crooked. "Junmayan, you slut. You want me to pay for your food? In your dreams. I didn't expect you to become so shameless after so many years." Mayan ordered all the signature dishes of Kalai restaurant, and the prices of those dishes aren't low at all. Even if Shinsharo took out all the gold coins she had, she still wouldn't be able to afford it. But as it happened, Mu Yin, this shameless slut, had taken her by surprise. Want her to pay for her meal? Dream on. Chapter 187. Hearing Shen Xiaoru's words, the waiter also revealed a trace of embarrassment and looked at Mu Yin with some hesitation. Mu Yin looks up and is about to speak. Unexpectedly, Bai Yichin stood up and slowly said, "I'll pay for this young lady." After saying that, he waved his hand and a bag of money flew in front of the waiter. "Are these enough?" The waiter didn't even need to open it. Just by weighing the weight, he immediately smiled. "It's enough. Thank you, young master. As for the rest of the dishes, we will definitely deliver them to this young lady as soon as possible." Mu Yin raises her head to look at Bai Yichin, and she can't help but raise her brows again. What a coincidence. It was another familiar face. Even Little Treasure, who was sitting at the side, whispered, "Rabbit Lantern?" Yes, the masked white-clothed young man before him was the person who'd given the rabbit lantern to Little Bao during the Lantern Festival. Seeing Mayan looking at him, Bai Yichin slightly cupped his hands towards her. Based on his actions, it was obvious that he recognized them. Mu Yin couldn't help but chuckle, raising the wine cup in her hand and shaking it. "Thank you very much." Even though the young lady in front of him was covered in dust, her radiance could not be concealed. Then, Xiao Bao also raised his teacup and shook it from afar. His posture was exactly the same as Mu Yan's. "Thank you." Bai Yichin couldn't help but curl his lips when he saw Xiao Bao acting like a little adult. Gao Qinyu sees the smile on the corner of Bai Yichin's mouth that's exposed outside the mask. It's as if he's seen a ghost. Senior Brother Yichin actually smiled. Don't look at how Bai Yichin is recognized as a genius in the Yanwu continent. He's never been high-spirited or carried away with pride. Ever since he was young, he rarely smiled. Even in front of junior sister Lin Sidong, he only smiled occasionally. After junior sister Lin went missing, her temperament became even colder. But who would have thought that today, senior Brother Yichin would actually smile at a beggar-like girl and a dirty child? Gao Qinyu saw this rare smile. How could Shinsharo, who was always paying attention to Bai Yichin, not miss it? Her originally pretty face contorted into a hideous grimace at this moment. Junmayan, this slut, is really a shameless vixen. 5 years ago, She had seduced all the men around her and made them lose their souls. Now, after 5 years, she had given birth to a bastard and had even become a filthy beggar. Yet she still had such foxy skills. Junmayan, do you still have any shame? You actually let my senior brother pay for you. You actually dared to seduce my senior brother. I will tear your face apart. Shinshiro couldn't bear it anymore. She takes a vigorous step forward and raises her hand to grab Mayan's face. Be careful. The crowd cried out involuntarily. Gao Qinyu cried out in alarm. Shinshiro, quickly stop, don't go too far. Everyone thought that Mu Yin would be very miserable, because Shen Xiaoro was a disciple of the Ziyang school. However, before Shen Xiaoro's palm could land, Xiaobao lightly swung the bone in his hand. Bang! There was a loud noise. Shen Xiaoro's body flew out and heavily hit one of the tables. The guests at that table screamed and backed away from their seats. Shen Xiaoro, on the other hand, was curled up on the ground, holding her forehead that was full of blood. She cried out and couldn't get up for a long time. Everyone in the restaurant has a stupefied look on their faces. They don't know what happened at all. Why did Shinshiro want to beat Mayan? And Mayan was fine, but she herself flew out. Chapter 188. Only Bai Yichen's thoughtful gaze swept over Mu Yin and Xiaobao, and a trace of understanding flashed through his eyes. Shinshiro struggled to get up from the ground, her eyes almost spitting fire. At this moment, she no longer looked like the ethereal woman she had when she first entered the shop. There was a cut on her forehead and blood was flowing all over her face. His white clothes were stained with food and grease. No matter how one looked at it, he looked so pathetic and funny. Some people could not help but burst out laughing. Bitch, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Shinshiro couldn't bear it anymore. She pulled out the long sword from her waist and ruthlessly slashed at him. However, before she could swing her sword, her wrist was grabbed by someone. She did not know when Bai Yichen had appeared beside her. He looked at her coldly. Have you had enough? Haven't you lost enough face for the Purple Sun sect? Shinshiro could be unruly and willful in front of anyone, but in front of Bai Yichen, she did not dare to be rash. However, the more Bai Yichen protects Mu Yin, the more she hates Mu Yin. Senior brother, do you know who this bitch is? She is our Shin family's adopted daughter, Junmayan. In the Shin family and the Su family, there was no one who did not know that this slut was fickle and shameless. She actually went out for a trip and had an illicit affair with a man and even got pregnant with a bastard. My aunt and her family were kind enough to take her in, but they didn't expect that she would set fire to my aunt and secretly run away. All these years, I wonder how many men she's been with to be able to support herself and that bastard. Shan Xiaoro gnashed her teeth and said, now that she is in such dire straits, she must have been abandoned by her wild man, so she has been reduced to a beggar. Senior brother, this woman is very cunning. You must not be deceived by her. Shinshiro's words made Bai Yichen's face turn even uglier. He flung her hand away. However, before he could speak, a graceful figure of a woman hurriedly walked in from the door. Upon seeing this woman, someone instantly cried out in surprise, Aya, it's Miss Ru Yin. It's really Junji Drugstore's Miss Ru Yin. Miss Ru Yin, why have you come? Does Junji Drugstore have any extra special drafts for sale today? The woman who came in had a rosy face and rosy cheeks. Who else could it be but Ru Yin? In Xi'an, who doesn't know Ru Yin? That's the Ghost City's Beast Fighting Coliseum's ghost envoys who are in charge of presiding over the fights. Moreover, he is now the shopkeeper of Junji Drugstore, the hottest pharmacy in Xi'an. In Xi'an, which practitioner doesn't want to curry favor with her, hoping to buy a bottle of special draft from her hands? Even when Gao Qinyu sees Ru Yin, he also rushes over in pleasant surprise. He respectfully greets her. Miss Ru Yin, nice to meet you. They came to Xi'an this time, in addition to aimlessly searching for the missing junior sister Lin Sidong. It's also because he heard that in Xi'an, there are some drafts that can break through bottlenecks for sale. Bai Yichen himself did not need it. But Gao Qinyu and Shen Xiaoro have already been stuck in their respective bottlenecks for a long time. If he could get a bottle of filter of barrier breaking, That would be a great fortune. Unfortunately, the special drafts in Junji Drugstore are really too hard to buy. So much so that even though they booked it for a month, they still couldn't get it. Chapter 189. As soon as she said that, the surrounding people looked at Shin Xiaoro as if they were looking at a fool. The filter of barrier breaking that was auctioned for 10 million gold coins in the Ghost City, and this person actually wants to buy it for 1 million gold coins? I'm not dreaming, right? Gao Qinyu feels even more ashamed, wishing he could find a hole in the ground to crawl into. This Shin Xiaoro had always been ignorant and incompetent, and she was also arrogant and conceited. She was obviously stupid to death, but she still thought that she was smart and beautiful. They want to buy other people's drafts, but they didn't even clearly inquire about the price, causing him and senior brother Ichin to lose face together. However, Ru Yin clearly didn't have the mood to fuss about it with any of them at this moment. An anxious look appeared on her delicate face. She pushed away Shin Xiaoro, who was blocking her way, and hurriedly walked inside. When he sees Mu Yin and Xiao Bao sitting in the corner, he immediately smiles. "Miss, little Gongzi, you're really here, that's great. We were very worried when we couldn't find you in the house." When Mu Yin and Xiao Bao raise their heads, they see their current sorry state. Ru Yin, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. "Me? Miss, little Gongzi, how did you become like this?" Both of them were black, but their eyes were still bright and enchanting. If not for the familiar figure and aura, she would not have recognized him. Suddenly, a thought flashed through her mind. Miss, could it be that the thick smoke in your room is a him?" Mu Yin coughs a few times, interrupting Ru Yan's words. He touched his nose awkwardly. When she was refining pills in her space, her furnace exploded. Because she felt ashamed, she didn't even change her clothes or wash her face before she escaped with little Bao. He did not expect that Ru Yin and the others would actually find their way here. She cleared her throat and was about to speak. Suddenly, Shin Xiaoro's sharp yell cut in from the side. "Miss Ru Yin, did you get the wrong person? Why did he call her miss? She's just a lowly beggar who gave birth to a bastard child with a wild man. How could she be your miss?" Ru Yan's face immediately darkened. She raised her hand and gave Shin Xiaoro a fierce slap. "Who gave you the courage to humiliate our miss?" This slap caused Shin Xiaoro to retreat several steps. Half of his face immediately swelled up, but she still had a dull look on her face as she looked at Ru Yin in disbelief. Not to mention Shin Xiaoro, everyone in the restaurant was dumbfounded. Ru Yin said that Mayan is her miss? Then wouldn't she be the owner of Junji Drugstore? In other words, the godly apothecary who refines those special drafts with sky-high prices? But how is that possible? In the past half a month, he was the hottest, the most mysterious, the most heaven-defying apothecary that many people yearned to climb up to. How could he be such a sloppy beggar? Moreover, she was a promiscuous woman who had an affair with a man early on, got pregnant out of wedlock, and gave birth to a bastard? Shin Xiaoro suddenly came back to her senses. She couldn't suppress it any longer and screamed, "Are you kidding me? How could this slut be that god-level apothecary? Junmayan, do you think that by finding someone to use as a cover and raise your own identity, you can deceive everyone? I'm telling you, stop dreaming. I've long since thoroughly investigated your background. If you're really a god-rank apothecary, then I, Shin Xiaoro, will crawl out of this guest arrival restaurant today." Ru Yin was practically seething with anger. Chapter 190. Today, she must ruthlessly teach them a lesson. However, before Ru Yin could make her move, more than a dozen people enter the restaurant's entrance in a single file. Seeing these people, everyone in the audience simultaneously sucks in a mouthful of cold air. God, who are these people that came in? Yin Haoyin, Chen Qingfeng, Old Tao. Which one of them isn't a celebrity in Junji Drugstore? The rest, there's a glamorous beauty with a graceful figure. There are also more than a dozen fiends, burly men that can make people tremble with fear with just a glance. Gulp. Someone swallows their saliva, their eyes round. What's going on here? The people of Junji Drugstore all ran here? As soon as Ru Yin sees these people, she immediately calls out in delight. "Haitang, Old Tao, Qingfeng, Mrs. Here. More than a dozen people quickly arrive in front of Mayan and Xiao Bo Yin Hao Yin, Feng Haidang, Old Tao, and Chun Xing Feng slightly bow. Greetings to Miss. The dozen or so people from the ink camp simultaneously bow down. Greetings to Miss June. Greetings to the little master. The entire restaurant is deathly silent. One could hear a pin drop. Only the rumbling roars of those dozen or so people reverberate. Gao Qinyu is dumbfounded. After a long while, he turns to look at Bai Yichen. He grabs his sleeve and says in a trembling voice, "Says in your brother, that beggar is actually that god-level apothecary?" Bai Yichen's eyes slightly move. A strange light flashes through his calm eyes. He already knew that Mayan's strength is very strong and not simple, but he didn't expect that it would actually be this extraordinary. Xin Xiaoro is completely dumbfounded. Her pair of eyes unwaveringly stare at the respectful people of Junji Drugstore, and then look at Jun Mayan. How is this possible? How is this possible? That Jun Mayan, who had nothing, was driven to the Su family by her, suffered all kinds of abuse in the Su family, and even ended up having an illicit relationship with a wild man under her and her cousin's scheme, and got pregnant with a vile spawn. How could she be the owner of Junji Drugstore? How could she be a god-level apothecary? Mayan swallows the last mouthful of food, brushes off the dust on her clothes, and stands up. It's just that her clothes have long been charred from the explosion of the furnace. Feng Haiteng immediately looks at the shop assistant. "Can I trouble you for a basin of water and a clean towel?" Although it was a request, Feng Haiteng's face was expressionless. Her incomparably beautiful face was cold, but it added to her charm and charm. The waiter of the restaurant swallowed his saliva and nodded repeatedly. He quickly turned around and brought clean warm water and a cloth towel. Feng Haiteng and Ru Yin immediately stepped forward. One attends to Mu Yin, and the other attends to Xiao Bao. Chun Xingfeng and Old Tao were even smarter. They rushed out of the restaurant and bought 2 sets of clothes from the nearest boutique. The dirt on his face was washed away bit by bit. He took off his outer robe and put on a luxurious robe with fluttering sleeves. When Ru Yin and Feng Haiteng retreat, Mu Yin and Xiao Bao's true appearances are once again revealed. Everyone in the audience was so shocked that their eyeballs nearly popped out of their sockets. So beautiful. The godly apothecary whose name shakes Xia, and is actually such a bright and moving beauty. God, that kid is so cute. Aw, I really want to carry it home. I really want to pinch your cheeks. Just a moment ago, I thought that Zi Yangzong's female disciple looks pretty good. Now that she's compared to the owner of Junji Drugstore, that's really... Heh, let's not compare. It's shameful. Chapter 191. That's because Jun Mayan's beauty isn't only limited to her appearance, but also that ethereal and otherworldly, enchanting, and bewitching temperament that surrounds her. He was a monster who could steal a person's soul with just a slight frown and smile. As for Xiao Bao, there was no need to even mention him. Her exquisite facial features looked like they were carved from the same mold as Mayan. However, in addition to that trace of absolute beauty, there was also a trace of innate dignity and fierceness. She was clearly extremely adorable, but when those icy blue eyes looked over coldly, it caused one's heart to tremble, not daring to act rashly anymore. Mu Yin helps Xiao Bao clean the oil stains on his hands. Then she takes the cloth towel that Feng Haiteng hands over and wipes her hands. Soon after, he looks at Xin Xiaoro with a smile that isn't a smile. "You just said that if I were the owner of Junji Drugstore, you would crawl out from here? Xin Xiaoro, are you going to fulfill your promise now?" Xin Xiaoro's eyes are bloodshot, glaring at Mayan like she's seen a ghost. It wasn't until Mu Yan's face was completely revealed that she recalled the time when she was suppressed by Mu Yan's appearance to the point that she couldn't breathe, and was jealous to the point that she wanted to go crazy. 5 years have passed, but not only has Jun Mayan not fallen from grace, she hasn't become ugly either. Instead, she became even more beautiful, and she even became a god-tier alchemist. How is this possible? You can't be Jun Mayan. You can't be Jun Mayan. Xin Xiaoro desperately shakes her head like a madwoman, hysterically roaring. Jun Mayan should lose all standing and reputation, miserable and dejected. Jun Mayan, that slut. should not have a good death. Bang! Before Shin Xiaoro could finish shouting, Yin Haoyin leaped up and kicked her in the chest. The pain of the broken bones in her chest made Shin Xiaoro let out a miserable howl like a pig being slaughtered. But before she could get up, she was stepped on by Yin Haoyin, unable to move. Yin Haoyin looked at her coldly. Just one look was enough to make Shin Xiaoro's face turn pale and her whole body tremble. The Azura demons that come out of the Ghost City's beast-fighting coliseum aren't just there to scare people. Yin Haoyin raises his head and looks at Mu Yin. The meaning was clear. Should they kill or not? Mu Yin hooks up the corner of her lips and chuckles softly. Haoyin, be a bit more refined. No matter what, this is still my good sister. What's more, I'm still waiting for her to fulfill her promise. If you cripple her, how is she going to crawl out? Hearing this, Yin Haoyin quickly retracted his leg and retreated to the side. The guys from the ink camp, on the other hand, are only afraid of the whole world being in chaos. They immediately shout, crawl out, crawl out. Ha ha ha, bitch, if you don't obediently crawl out, I'll make you crawl out from under my pants. Shin Xiaoro looked at the surrounding diners of Kulai restaurant in fear. It was a pity that her expression and words just now were too sharp and unkind, making one feel disgusted. Therefore, now that she's being humiliated and punished, not only is there no one to help her, there are even a few people who take pleasure in her misfortune and shout along with the ink camp, crawl out. Shin Xiaoro's eyes were filled with tears, and her face was filled with humiliation. Harboring a glimmer of hope, she looks towards Bai Yichin and Gao Chunyu. Senior brother, could it be that you want to look on helplessly as I, your junior sister, am humiliated? Humph, isn't this what you asked for? Bai Yichin still hadn't spoken when Gao Chunyu indignantly says, just now, your senior brother already told you to restrain yourself a bit, but you wouldn't listen. Now that you're being humiliated, don't tell me that you don't deserve it. Chapter 192. Even junior sister Lin Sitong's disappearance is also because of this Shin Xiaoro's deliberate obstruction. If it weren't for her family and identity, Gao Chunyu would really like to ruthlessly beat her up. Not to mention Lin Sitong's childhood sweetheart, senior brother Yichin. Now that there's someone who can ruthlessly teach her a lesson, it's really great. Shin Xiaoro looks hopefully at Bai Yichin, hoping that he can stand up for her. With Bai Yichin's identity, as long as he's willing to reveal his identity and speak up for her, there's simply no one who can refuse to give dustless swordsman Bai Yichin face. However, Bai Yichin's expression doesn't change in the slightest because of her pleading. The voice that comes out can even freeze people. Keeping one's word is the character that Ziyang's people should have. Don't let people look down on you, and also look down on Ziyang. As soon as these words come out, Shin Xiaoro only feels that the sky and earth are spinning, wishing that she could faint. She fiercely glares at Mayan, shrieking, June Mayan, if you dare to treat me like this today, in the future, my mother and the Shun family will certainly return it to you 1,000 times over. Mayan slowly walks up to her, crouches down, leans close to her ear, and softly says, Shin Xiaoro, do you think that I don't know that when I was drugged that year, and when I accidentally trespassed into the forbidden area, was it all your and the Su family's plan? The Su family's people have already died in the fire. Can you guess what will happen to you? Tell me, if you were to choose, would you choose to crawl out of here, or die the same way as the Su family's people? Shin Xiaoro's pupils suddenly contract. Her body trembles, and she looks up at June Mayan. There's a faint smile on that beautiful face that's so close at hand. Those eyes are bright and clear, as if they can completely see through her heart. At this moment, Shin Xiaoro actually feels a bone-chilling fear. Under Mayan's gaze, which is like a smile yet not a smile, she stiffly climbs up. Knees bent, hands on the ground, she slowly crawls out step by step. Not bad, not bad. You climb really well, very much like a dog. The people from the ink camp nod in praise. This attracts a burst of laughter from the people in the restaurant. Shin Xiaoro clenched her teeth as she crawled. The fear in her eyes slowly turned into bone-piercing hatred. June Mayan, just you wait. I will definitely tear that face of yours to pieces and let you die without a burial ground. Miss, do you need someone to get rid of that woman? Old Tao approaches Mu Yin and makes a throat-slitting gesture. Mu Yin's eyes darkened. She shook her head and said, "There's no need. I still have a use for her life." Old Tao immediately took his leave. Soon, only Mu Yin and Xiao Bao were left in the room. Mu Yin is thinking whether or not she should go into the space to clean up the mess. Xiao Bao suddenly climbed up the chair and snuggled into her bosom. Before Mu Yin could react, he tightly hugs Mu Yin's neck and leans his little head on her shoulder. Xiao Bao has always been precocious and cold. Even if he's attached to Mayan, he rarely acts coquettishly and clingy like this. Mu Yin quickly hugged his small body in her arms and asked softly, "Baby, what's wrong?" The room is quiet, and there's only the sound of the two people's thin breathing. Just when Mu Yin thought that Xiao Bao wouldn't answer, she hears a low whisper in her ear. "Nyangqin, what is a bastard?" Mu Yin's body suddenly tightens. The hand holding Xiao Bao also trembles slightly. Chapter 193. At this moment, she suddenly hates Xin Xiaoro very much. She hates this woman. She actually humiliates her baby like this, making her baby sad. Xiao Bao slowly raises his head from the crook of her neck, a pair of deep blue eyes quietly looking at her. "Nyangqin, is Xiao Bao a bastard?" Mu Yin suddenly shakes her head. Of course not. Xiao Bao is Nyangqin's most important baby. His long eyelashes tremble. Xiao Bao clenches his small fists. Then why do they always say that Xiao Bao is a bastard? Has Xiao Bao shamed Nyangqin? The one he cares about the most, the mother he loves the most, the mother he longs to protect for a lifetime. If she's humiliated, hurt, and wantonly insulted because of his existence, Jun Machin. Mu Yin slowly calls out his full name. Her eyes stare at him unblinkingly, without a trace of hesitation or evasion, without a trace of perfunctory or deceit. Nyangqin doesn't care what people say or do. Nyangqin only cares if Xiao Bao is well, if he's happy, if he's by Nyangqin's side. The hesitation and panic in Xiao Bao's eyes slowly turn into softness and joy. It's like a bright lamp has been lit on the vast ocean. Xiao Bao hugs Mu Yan's neck and gently rubs against it. Xiao Bao doesn't care what people say or do. Xiao Bao only wants Nyangqin to be happy and to be together with Nyangqin. Mu Yin tightly hugs his small body, her face revealing a smile so soft that it's almost melting. But her heart hurts, as if someone is stabbing it with a needle. In the end, she let her baby get hurt. Tonight, Xiao Bao is particularly clingy to her. When she sleeps at night, he's also tightly clinging to her arms, grabbing her hand. Mu Yin gently pats him. It's not until midnight that she feels the little person in her arms soften and calm down, that she slowly lets herself fall asleep. In a daze, she hears Xiao Bao's low voice, as if he's talking in his sleep. "Nyangqin, does Xiao Bao have a father?" Having a father, what does it feel like? Mu Yan's slightly closed long eyelashes tremble, as if there are sparkling and translucent tears looming on them. She reaches out and holds the child's soft body in her arms, as if grasping at a life-saving straw. For a long time, she doesn't let go. Jingcheng Country, Royal Palace. Late at night, Gong Qianxue hurriedly came out of her bedroom wearing only a single garment. Seeing Zhao Shan kneeling on the ground and Yen Lai lying beside him without limbs and beyond recognition, his eyes immediately widen. What's going on? Gong Qianxue lets out a cry of pain and rushes to Yen Lai's side. How did Big Brother Yin become like this? Zhao Shan lowered his head so that no one could see his expression. But he says in a hoarse voice, "I went to Xia and city to assassinate Jun Mayan, but I didn't succeed. After escaping with great difficulty, I discovered that the head wasn't dead, but had instead become like this, neither human nor ghost. That Jun Mayan is so vicious." Gong Qianxue revealed a shocked and pained expression, sparkling and translucent teardrops dripping down from her eyes. Killing people is just a matter of nodding one's head to the ground. How could she bear to harm Big Brother Yin so miserably? As she speaks, Gong Qianxue crouches down in front of Yen Lai, her face full of pity and guilt. "Big Brother Yin, I'm sorry. It's all because of me." She hasn't finished speaking when Yen Lai, who originally had his eyes closed, suddenly opens them. Chapter 194. At the same time, Zhao Shan and the fierce flame mercenary group behind him also moved. The sword and saber were wrapped in a fierce killing intent, and in the blink of an eye, they had already neared Gong Qianshue's back. However, it was such a critical moment. Gong Qianshue's face didn't have the slightest hint of panic. The pity and guilt in her eyes receded, leaving only ruthlessness and coldness. With a slight sway of her body, she easily avoids Yan Lai's poisonous hidden weapon. He suddenly raises his hand and ruthlessly slaps Yan Lai's heart. With a pop sound, Yan Lai's heart shatters, his eyes bulge out, and he becomes a dead man. Almost at the same time, Gong Qianshue turned around and grabbed Zhao Shan's neck with one hand. With his other hand, he snatched Zhao Shan's saber and slashed it down. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. Both of Zhao Shan's arms were chopped off. He howled like a pig being slaughtered. Gong Qianshue sneered and slowly stood up with Zhao Shan by the neck. At this time, around her were the corpses of more than 10 members of the Raging Inferno mercenary group. A grave and stern man in black walked to Gong Qianshue's side and stood respectfully. Gong Qianshue coldly looked at Zhao Shan. "You want to kill me with just a bunch of trash?" Zhao Shan's entire body was trembling in pain, but he still glared angrily at Gong Qianshue and roared in a hoarse voice, "You, back then, you lied to the leader, lied to our mercenary group. You will die a horrible death." Gong Qianshue narrowed her eyes and said, "How do you know what happened back then? Did Jun Mayan tell you?" Zhao Shan opened his mouth and suddenly spat out a mouthful of phlegm mixed with blood on Gong Qianshue's face. "You will die a horrible death." A cold light flashed in Gong Qianshue's eyes, and she suddenly exerted force in her hand. With a cracking sound, Zhao Shan's head drooped down softly. She throws the corpse away in disgust and takes the handkerchief that the man in black hands over. Wiping her face and hands, she says through gritted teeth, "That Jun Mayan in the end, I still underestimated her. Princess, do you want me to send someone to kill her?" Gong Qianshue narrowed her eyes and slowly said, "Don't be hasty. Send someone to investigate her identity and background. I've always felt that this Jun Mayan is very important to me. I can't just simply kill her." "Yes, Princess." Gong Qianshue glanced at the people of the Raging Inferno mercenary group on the ground, frowning. "I originally wanted to take these people for my own use. Humph, forget it. They're just a bunch of trash. By the way, I asked you to get in touch with the higher-ups of the Ghost City and find a way to turn Jingchang Country's Ghost City into our force. How's it going?" "It's a little difficult." The black-clothed man mutters to himself for a moment, and then he says in a low voice, "We've already bribed the magistrates of Jingchang Country's Ghost City, but the King of Hell, but don't worry, Princess, it's only a matter of time." Halfway through his words, the man in black suddenly frowned and took a deep breath. Then, his expression changed and he took a step back. Gong Qianshue couldn't help but frown when she saw his unusual expression. "What's going on? Could it be? What's that smell? It stinks." She took a deep breath and was almost choked to death by the stench. Ugh, where did this stench come from? The man in black covered his nose and took a step back without a trace. He wanted to say something but stopped. "Princess, it seems to be the smell coming from your body. You. Speak. What? Is that so?" A scream that could overturn roofs resounded through the clouds. Chapter 195. Even Gong Qianshue's diehard followers, the men who adore her, can only give way when they see her. Because she stinks too much. Unless you plug your nose, you'll vomit out yesterday's meal if you get close to her. Gong Qianshue's lungs are about to explode from anger. She screams with bone-deep hatred, "Jun Mayan, just you wait. I'll make you die without a burial." The next day, she directly leaves Jingchang Country and goes to Tiandao sect. In Jingchang Country, she has already searched for all the famous doctors and apothecaries, but none of them can cure this strange poison. In this world, the only one who can help her is Senior Jianfeng of Tiandao sect. Mayan, who's far away in Qiyin Country, doesn't know what's happening in Jingcheng Country. At this very moment, she's entertaining an unexpected guest. Xiayan's Ghost City's Ghost King, Xia Yi. Xia Yi's expression is respectful, and he gets straight to the point. Miss June, coming to find you today is the sincerity of Go City. We hope to cooperate with you. Mayan raises her eyebrows. Cooperation? Are you talking about the special drafts? Xiai shows a wry smile and nods. You guessed right. I've come here in hopes that Miss June can provide a portion of the special drafts to our Go City every month. We'll buy them at double the price of the Junji drugstore. Mayan says with a smile that isn't a smile. You should know my rules. Xiai says, Go City doesn't want Miss June to break the rules. But the amount of special drafts that Junji drugstore sells every day is very small. I believe that with Miss June's ability, it would be a piece of cake to refine the same amount of drafts. This way, it wouldn't be breaking the rules, right? Xiai really doesn't know what else to do. Because of the emergence of the Junji drugstore's special drafts, almost everyone in Xia and who wants to buy drafts runs to the Junji drugstore. The Go City's trading house exists in name only. If this goes on, I'm afraid that even the prestige of the Go City will be damaged. If it were any other apothecary, the Go City would have already seized it by force. But as it happens, they run into this evil star. It doesn't count as breaking the rules, Mu Yin teased. But why should I refine another batch? Xia Yi clenches his teeth. Only then does he get up and respectfully hand over a dark purple token to Mayan. This is my Go City's Shenshu token, a special token that has never been given out in the last 300 years. Holding this Shenshu token, in any Go City of the Yinwu continent, one can enjoy privileges second only to the King of Hell. As soon as Shin Tu gave the order, the infernal judges and ghost servants all obeyed. This is my Go City's expression of sincerity towards Miss June. Mu Yin narrowed her eyes slightly, her gaze falling on the Shun Tu token as she slowly said, I may not stay in Xi'an City for long. It doesn't matter at all. As soon as Xia Yi sees that her tone has loosened, he immediately says excitedly, although there's only one entrance to my Go City in Qiyin, Jingcheng and Huangyao, our hands and informants are all over the cities and towns. No matter where you go, Miss June, our cooperation will continue, and we will not trouble you to run around. Mu Yin ponders for a moment, then slowly hooks up her lips. All right, deal. Having just sent off Xia Yi, Mu Yin prepares to accompany Xiaobao to practice martial arts for a while. But Haitang comes in and reports, Miss, Shun Xiaoro requests an audience. Shin Xiaoro? Requests an audience? This time, Mu Yin is really surprised. But very quickly, she reveals a meaningful smile. Please come in. Chapter 196. After not seeing her for a few days, Shun Xiaoro's injuries still haven't completely subsided, and her complexion is pale and sallow. Different from the arrogant and despotic attitude of that day at the restaurant, she immediately shows a tearful expression when she sees Mayan today. Mayan Mimi, it was Big Sister's fault a few days ago. Big Sister was really too surprised. You're still alive, so I got a little carried away. Can you forgive Big Sister? Mayan looks at her indifferently, then spits out 2 words, no. Shun Xiaoro immediately chokes. Her face distorts for a moment, and it takes a long while before she calms down. With even more tearful eyes, she mournfully says, Mayan Mimi, Big Sister knows that you still blame Big Sister, but in the end, we are a family. Father and Big Brother have been looking for you all these years. Now that they know that you're still alive, they must be very happy. Mayan Mimi, quickly come back to the Shin family with me. Hearing the words, Father and Big Brother, Mayan's expression becomes absent-minded for a moment. She spared Shin Xiaoro's dog life. It's precisely because she wants to know the situation of her adoptive father and brother. She also wants to know what that good adoptive mother of hers did back then. In her previous life, because of the death of the child in her womb, she hated the Su family, hated her adoptive mother, and thus hated her adoptive father and brother. But her adoptive father was kind to her, so Mayan didn't retaliate. From then on, she paid no attention to the family, acting like a stranger. However, after a short 3 years, she received news of her adoptive father's death. Another year passed, and even her brother died unexpectedly during his experiential learning. Only after a long time did Mayan know that her adoptive father and brother had looked for her. What happened to the Shin family in her previous life? Seeing Mayan's indifferent appearance, Shun Xiaoro can't help but grit her teeth. Finally, she resorts to her killer move, June Mayan. Do you know that father is seriously ill now? After all, you've been in the Shun family for so many years. Shouldn't you go back to the Shin family to see father and show your filial piety? Father is seriously ill? Mayan's expression is indifferent and solemn, coldly looking at her. Shin Xiaoro was really scared by Mayan a few days ago, and she suddenly shivers. But she quickly adjusts her expression, wiping her tears and says, "Yes, father has been ill for a long time. Shouldn't you go back and see him? June Mayan, although father isn't related to you by blood, he still raised you for so many years. You can't be so cold-blooded and heartless." Mu Yin slowly relaxes her body, leaning on the chair and unhurriedly says, "All right, I'll go back with you. Are you really willing to go back to the Shin family with me?" Shin Xiaoro excitedly jumped up from the chair. 3 days later, wait for me at the gate of Xi'an. Receiving Mayan's affirmative answer, Shin Xiaorong excitedly leaves. After walking out of Junji drugstore, the excitement on her face is immediately replaced by resentment and ecstasy. Ha ha ha. June Mayan, you're beautiful now. So what if you know alchemy? Aren't you still being deceived by me, Shin Xiaoro? Wait till you come back to the Shin family with me, haha. Then what awaits you is a fate more miserable than hell. June Mayan, your good days are over. I will make you pay back the humiliation you gave me a few days ago 1,000 times over. 3 days later, a carriage quietly stops in front of Junji drugstore. Ru Yin, Old Tao, Qin Qingfeng and the people from the ink camp are all respectfully standing in front of the carriage. Chapter 197. Maya nods and looks at Qin Qingfeng. Have you really decided to go to Tianyuan City with me? After all, this is your ancestral property. Qin Qingfeng nods without hesitation. From the day I decided to follow Miss June, I was already Mrs. Person. Wherever you are, my mother and I will be there. What's more, if it weren't for you, Qingfeng would have already lost his only relative, let alone the ancestral property. Mayan sees his resolute expression and no longer says anything more. She carries Xiao Bao and boards the carriage. Before lowering the curtain, she can't help but sweep her gaze over the courtyard next to Junji drugstore. Deeming Ju in the end, he's just a passerby in her and Xiao Bao's lives. Gently shaking her head, Mayan lets go and lowers the curtain. The carriage slowly heads towards Xia and City Gate. City Gate, senior brother, why don't you come back to Tianyuan City with me? It's rare that Xi'an and Tianyuan City are so close. My mother really wants to see you. Shin Xiaoro sticks to Bai Yichen's side, chattering nonstop. Gao Qinyu can't help but turn his face white, his face full of disgust. Bai Yichen's expression is cold, not even bothering to answer. Shin Xiaoro's eyes flash with a hint of melancholy, and she suddenly says in a sweet voice, "Senior brother, I'm afraid you still don't know, but this time, Mayan is going back to the Shin family with me." As soon as she says this, Bai Yichen really lifts his head. Even Gao Qinyu can't help but say, "You're talking nonsense, right? How could that godly alchemist go with you?" Shin Xiaoro gets Bai Yichen's attention, and she feels proud. But when she thinks that this attention came because she mentioned Mayan's name, there's a burst of jealousy in her heart. But on the surface, she has to put on a calm and indifferent expression. Mayan is my Shin family's adopted daughter. Now that she's grown up, isn't it only right and proper for her to return to the Shin family to repay the grace of raising her? My mother has found a good school for little sister Mayan. Before he could finish his words, he sees a carriage speeding over. It stops at the city gate, and Mayan, dressed in a moon-white dress, gets down from it. The morning sun falls on her elegant and beautiful countenance, as if it's plated with a layer of light. Gao Qinyu is simply stunned, muttering, "So beautiful." Even Bai Yichen's eyes flickered slightly. Shin Xiaoro tightly clenched her hands into fists. It took her quite a while to control herself. She stepped forward and said with a smile, "Little sister Mayan, why did you only come now?" He reached out to grab her hand to show his affection, but was pushed away by Feng Haidang. Her beautiful face was cold and expressionless. "Sorry, our miss doesn't like to interact with strangers." "You, a mere servant, how dare you point fingers at me? Who do you think you are?" As he spoke, He raised his hand and was about to slap Feng Haitong's beautiful face. However, just as she raised her hand into the air, it was ruthlessly grabbed by a thick hand that resembled a cattail leaf fan. "Aw, it hurts. It hurts. Quickly let go." Shun Xiaoro's face contorted in pain, and the bones in her hand made creaking sounds. Only then did Yin Haoyan violently fling her a few steps away. He then looked at Feng Haitong worriedly, but happened to meet Feng Haitong's deep and focused eyes. Yin Haoyan's heart fiercely trembled, and he promptly turned his head away, maintaining his expressionless face. Feng Haitong sighed softly and slowly stepped back to stand by Mayan's side. Chapter 198. June Mayan. This slut. She actually lets her subordinates bully her again and again. But no matter how angry she was, Shin Xiaoro did not dare to act rashly this time. She grits her teeth and looks at Mayan. "Can we go now?" Mayan smiles. "Let's go." When Gao Qinyu sees that Mu Yin really wants to go to Tianyuan City with Shin Xiaoro, he can't help but feel a burning passion in his heart. He looks at Bai Yiqin expectantly. He had been stuck at the bottleneck for a long time. If he could travel with June Mayan, maybe he could ask for a bottle of filter of barrier breaking? Bai Yiqin pondered for a moment, then took a step forward and said, "If you don't mind, can you allow us to travel together?" "Senior brother, are you really willing to go to the Shin family with me to see my parents?" When Shan Xiaoro heard that Bai Yiqin was going to Tianyuan City, she was so excited that she didn't even care about the pain in her hand. Gao Qinyu once again rolls his eyes, simply about to be defeated by this woman's shamelessness. Yiqin apprentice brother is obviously talking to Miss June. Who was going to see her parents? Was there something wrong with this person? Bai Yiqin doesn't pay attention to Shin Xiaoro, but looks at Mu Yin. Mayan leisurely smiles. "Why not? Xiaobao, don't you agree?" Holding Mu Yan's hand, Xiaobao nods expressionlessly. Uncle Rabbit Lantern, he did not dislike. The corners of Bai Yiqin's mouth curled up as a gentle smile appeared in his eyes. When Shin Xiaoro saw this scene, she was so angry that her whole body was trembling. "Bitch, bitch, bitch. You can only take advantage of this time to be arrogant. Wait till we get back to the Shin family. I will teach you a lesson." She suppressed her anger and shouted, "What are you waiting for? If we don't leave now, we won't be able to reach Tianyuan City by nightfall. Do you want to be buried in the stomachs of strange beasts in Wuwang Mountain Range?" Wuwang Mountain Range is a mountain range between Xi'an City and Tianyuan City. There were very special beasts that lurked in the night and came out at night. They were extremely ferocious and often appeared in groups. Ordinary martial artists could not deal with it at all. Therefore, most people did not dare to walk on this mountain path when it was dark. Otherwise, it would be courting death. Just as the crowd was about to mount their horses and carriages, a voice suddenly rang out. Suddenly, a group of people galloped over from the city. This time, it was still a carriage. However, it was not a carriage for people, but a carriage for goods. There were more than 20 carriages, and they were all filled with boxes and cages. The one in the lead was a middle-aged man. His face was ordinary, but the light in his eyes was restrained. Even Bai Yiqin was unable to see through his cultivation. A look of astonishment appeared on his face. When the caravan comes near, the middle-aged man dismounts the horse and quickly walks in front of Mayan. He bows and salutes. Ghost City's new magistrate, Dai Xiang, greets Miss June. Hiss. Gao Qinyu inhales a mouthful of cold air. WWWW what? Ghost City's magistrate? Wasn't that a Xiantian realm expert? Moreover, that's the Ghost City's magistrate. Why is he so respectful towards Mayan? Shin Xiaoro was even more dumbstruck, unable to react for a moment. However, Dai Xiang did not care about their reactions. He raises his head and shows a fawning smile to Mayan. Xia Yanwang heard that Miss June is leaving Xia and to settle down in Tianyuan City, so he specially had his subordinates prepare a humble gift for you. He hopes that you and the little Gongzi will be able to live comfortably in Tianyuan City. As he spoke, he turned around and pointed at the cages behind him. Chapter 199. After Dai Xiang's introduction, the ghost envoy behind him immediately opened several of the boxes. Inside, the glittering jewels and rare herbs are all revealed. Gao Qinyu swallows his saliva with a gudong sound. Shen Xiaoro stares straight ahead, her eyes full of greed and desire. These things, if they all become hers. Dai Xiang also sees the greed in Shen Xiaoro's eyes. He can't help but laugh contemptuously and says in a clear voice, Ghost King has ordered that these are gifts from Ghost City to Miss June. If anyone dares to snatch them, then they will be making life difficult for my Ghost City. Clatter. Shen Xiaoro's heart that was just burning hot suddenly falls from the clouds. She gnashes her teeth in anger, looking at Mayan with eyes that can almost spit out fire. So many heavy things. How can we pass through the Wuwang Mountains tonight? June Mayan, do you want to kill us all on the road for your own selfish desires? Mayan still hasn't spoken. Dai Xiang already sneers. This girl, rest assured. How could there be any reason for my Ghost City's gifts to be lacking? This one will accompany Miss June to escort these gifts to the gates of Tianyuan City. This one doesn't care about insignificant strange beasts. Some people don't need to worry about groundless things. Gao Qinyu suddenly widens his eyes, looking at Dai Xiang, then looking at Mayan. The Ghost City's magistrate is actually personally escorting them to Tianyuan City? This June Mayan, what kind of divine being is she? Not to mention Gao Qinyu and Shen Xiaoro, even Mayan herself is somewhat surprised. She and Ghost City only have a cooperative relationship. Hearing that she's leaving, Ghost City actually came to send gifts and send her off? Isn't this treatment a bit too good? What's more, Xia An's Ghost City is almost emptied by her. How could there be so many gifts for her? Xia An's Ghost City. Ghost King, are we really going to give so many treasures to June Mayan? The magistrate says with a sullen face, this is half of our Ghost City's treasures. Xia Yi fiercely glares at him and says gloomily, do you think I want to? But this is an order from the Ghost King himself. He wants us to absolutely serve this Miss June well. We can't neglect her. If the Ghost King himself came, he's afraid that his entire Ghost City would be emptied for June Mayan. The same doubts as Gao Qinyu arise in Xia Yi's mind. This June Mayan, just where did she come from? In the evening, the sun was setting in the west, and the last ray of light on the horizon disappeared. Roars of beasts could be heard from time to time in the Wuwang mountain range. It was as if he could see pairs of green eyes hidden in the bushes. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Senior brother, save me. Shen Xiaoro screamed and tried to pounce on Bai Yiqin, but she missed. She has no choice but to settle for the next best thing. She tightly clings to Gao Qinyu's arm, shivering and shrieking, what should I do? What to do? Although the strange beasts in the Wuwang Mountains can only come out at night, each of them is at least in the Earth stage. There are only 4 of us. We're dead for sure. But I don't want to die. Gao Qinyu ruthlessly shakes off her hand, furiously saying, Shen Xiaoro, you still have the face to say that? If it weren't for you, we would have arrived at Tianyuan City long ago. How could we still be trapped here at night? Chapter 200. Gao Qinyu is simply driven mad by this woman's shamelessness. He hatefully swings his sleeve and no longer pays attention to her. Mu Yin, on the other hand, was carrying Xiao Bao as they sat on an enormous rock with a leisurely smile on their faces. It was as if they weren't in the depths of a dangerous place, but were on an outing amidst lush mountains and clear waters. However, he would occasionally look into the distance. SK, this is a stupid rabbit. Don't tell me it's so happy that it doesn't want to come back? Here's what happened. After entering the mountain path of the Wuwang Mountains, the sun had already begun to slowly sink. Shen Xiaoro really hates Bai Yiqin's gentleness towards Mu Yin and Xiao Bao, as well as his disdain towards her. Moreover, if Mayan were to die in the Wuwang Mountains, then wouldn't the treasures that Judge Dai Xiang would deliver tomorrow all belong to the Shen family, which would be his? That's why she got hot-headed and dared to do evil. She actually deceived Mu Yin into entering the Wuwang Mountains. Of course, the truth was that Mu Yin herself wanted to enter this mountain range. Since the sun had set, the fat rabbit in the space had become restless. It had a look that said, I'm starving to death. It's not easy to get so much food. Let me eat until I'm full. Thus, Mu Yin smoothly pushes the boat and directly enters the Wuwang Mountains. Shen Xiaoro was very pleased with herself. She was sure that Mu Yin wouldn't be able to come out from inside. She didn't expect that after Bai Yiqin and Gao Qinyu learn that Mayan is missing in the Wuwang Mountains, they actually insist on going in to look for her. The sky was dark, and the faint roars of beasts could be heard. How could Shinxiaro dare to stay on the mountain path alone? She could only follow him in. In the end, Mayan found them, but they were also lost in the darkness of the Wuwang Mountains. At this time, Shinxiaro really went for wool and came home shorn. She was scared out of her wits, but she didn't think it was her problem at all. On the contrary, she thoroughly hates Mu Yin. Bai Yiqin suddenly steps forward, standing in front of Mu Yin and Xiao Bao. His gaze, however, was fixed on the nearby shrubbery. I'll hold the exotic beast back later. You take Xiao Bao and leave first. Mu Yin couldn't help but glance at the young man. She could see through Bai Yiqin's cultivation. Heaven rank, high rank. To deal with the strange beasts of the Wuwang Mountain range, one or two was certainly not a problem. But the problem was that the exotic beasts here almost all appeared in groups. Once they fell into the beast tide, they would die for sure. But even at a time like this, he still wanted her and little treasure to leave first. Just as he was thinking, there was a sudden howl and dozens of red-tailed wolves rushed out, their jaws wide open. Ah! Shinxiaro screamed and fell to the ground in fright, almost fainting. In the blink of an eye, Bai Yiqin unsheathed his long sword with a clang. The sword light flickered and danced in the air. In the blink of an eye, blood splattered everywhere, and the wolf's limbs flew everywhere. Even Mu Yin praised him from the side. His swordsmanship is extraordinary. For the time being, Bai Yiqin was not in any danger. But Gao Qinyu will soon be unable to hold on. Because that idiot Shinxiaro, after losing her soul in fright, unexpectedly hugs Gao Qinyu's legs. Several wolves rushed over. Gao Qinyu could have dodged, but he was held up by Shinxiaro. He could only watch as the red-tailed wolf bit down on his head with its bloody mouth. Elder brother, save me. Gao Qinyu screams, his eyes already revealing despair. In his heart, he hates Shinxiaro to the extreme. Seeing his junior brother in danger, Bai Yiqin leaps over. His long sword streaks through the air. The sword light is swift and fierce, forcing back most of the red-tailed wolves in the blink of an eye. But there is still one wolf, a fish that escapes the net and pounces in front of Bai Yiqin. Its sharp claws ruthlessly claw down, and with a cracking sound, the mask on Bai Yiqin's face shatters. The sword's momentum is blocked. Valentine's Day theater. A long time later. Xiao Bao takes Bailey Liuin's notebook to Jun Shang. He turns to one of the pages and points with his little finger. Not waiting for Jun Shang to react, Xiao Bao already has his hands behind his back, and like a little adult, he leaves. A certain Jun Shang looks down and sees a line of words written in red. February 14th, Valentine's Day. As a qualified lover, you should. Jun Shang looks pensive. At night, Mu Yin comes back. She sees the ground covered in flower petals, the room full of candlelight, and a certain someone wearing silk pajamas, revealing his sexy chest. She is completely dumbfounded. What the hell is this? But before she could figure it out, a certain someone pounces on her like a hungry tiger. After a night, Mu Yin finds out that a certain someone is actually giving her Valentine's Day. Her shimmering eyes cast a sidelong glance. On Valentine's Day, you have to give a present. Where's your present? A certain Jun Shang is extremely proud, and also somewhat wronged. He grabs Mu Yan's little hand and presses it against his chest. In this world, is there a better present than Bin Jun's? Bin Jun has already given himself to you? Yin Yin is still not content? Chapter 201. Under the moonlight, the youth's peerlessly handsome countenance is revealed to the people, a bit pale. Face like the mid-autumn moon, color like the flowers at the dawn of spring. Beautiful and elegant, a peerless gentleman. This Yinwu continent's #1 genius, who is renowned far and wide, actually has a face like that of a good woman, an elegant and otherworldly appearance. It's no wonder that he often wears a mask. Boundless internal force emanates from Bai Yiqin's body. The powerful pressure makes the surrounding red-tailed wolves tremble in fear, and their movements can't help but pause. In the next moment, The long sword soars into the sky, splitting into tens of thousands of sword shadows, rustling down. The sword shadows dissipate, leaving only wolf corpses on the ground. The whole place is silent. For a moment, the strange beasts hiding in the dark are also frightened, not daring to move forward one by one. Shin Xiaoro stares at Bai Yichen's peerlessly handsome face with an infatuated expression. She steps forward, wanting to hold Bai Yichen's hand. "Senior brother, thank you for coming to save me. If it weren't for you, Xiaoro would have already died under the claws of the wolves. No matter how senior brother wants me to repay you, Xiaoro will." But, not waiting for Shin Xiaoro to finish her words, Bai Yichen has already walked quickly to Mayan and Xiao Bao's side. "Are you all right?" Mayan looks at his face, her eyes slightly flickering. "You're Ziyang's sect's peerless genius, Bai Yichen?" "That's right. My senior brother is the famous Bai Yichen." Shin Xiaoro takes a step forward, fiercely glaring at Mayan. "Now do you know my senior brother's status? Do you think my senior brother would take a fancy to a lowly broken shoe like you? I advise you to stop your wishful thinking." Shin Xiaoro's voice hasn't fallen when she suddenly hears a loud slap. Immediately after, her face hurts, and half of her cheek unexpectedly swells up for no reason. Shin Xiaoro howls like a pig being butchered, but no one pays attention to her. Only Xiao Bao coldly glares at her, withdraws his little hand, and takes Mayan's hand again. Mayan chuckles, grabbing her son's little hand tightly. Her other hand turns over her wrist, and a porcelain bottle appears in her palm. This is the filter of barrier breaking. One bottle can let Earth stage and below break through the bottleneck. As soon as Gao Qinyu sees the filter of barrier breaking, his eyes turn green and he swallows his saliva. Miss June, are you willing to sell it to us?" "I'm willing to pay any price." Mayan casually tosses it, and the porcelain bottle falls into Gao Qinyu's arms. He catches it in a flurry, trembling as he holds the porcelain bottle. Soon after, he looks at Mayan foolishly. "Miss June, I haven't paid yet." Xiao Bao rolled his eyes. "Another idiot." Mayan shakes her head and says, "No need. This bottle of filter of barrier breaking is to repay Bai Gongzi for giving me the lamp that day." Gao Qinyu didn't expect that such a big meat pie would fall on his head. He was so happy that his face couldn't be seen. He thanked Mu Yin again and again, then carefully put away the porcelain bottle. "What about mine?" When Shin Xiaoro sees that Gao Qinyu actually has the filter of barrier breaking, she doesn't even care about the pain on her face. All of a sudden, she rushes in front of Mu Yin. "Quick! I also want to break through the bottleneck. Quickly give me the filter of barrier breaking." Mayan sneers and looks at her sarcastically. "Shin Xiaoro, do you think I would give you drafts?" Seeing the chill in Mayan's eyes, Shin Xiaoro shivers. She clenches her teeth and says to herself, "Humph, if you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it." There are already special drafts being auctioned in the Ghost City. As long as she goes home and asks her mother for money, would she still be afraid that she wouldn't be able to get the filter of barrier breaking? Chapter 202. Right, there's something I forgot to tell you. Mayan unhurriedly says, "I've already informed the Ghost City. No matter who buys the drafts that I refine, they absolutely cannot fall into the hands of you or the Su family. Otherwise, if I find out about it once, I'll end the cooperation with Ghost City. Tell me, will the Ghost City still sell you the medicine?" "June Mayan, you slut. I'll kill you." Shin Xiaoro couldn't bear it any longer. She makes threatening gestures and pounces towards Mu Yin. Gao Qinyu suddenly rushes out from the side and knocks Shin Xiaoro into a rolling gourd. He says to Mayan with a fawning smile, "Miss June, this Shin Xiaoro is so annoying, don't pay attention to him. Our junior sister Lin went missing because of her, causing us to be unable to return to the sect now." "Junior sister Lin?" "Yes, junior sister Lin is senior brother Yichen's fiancée, called Lin Sitong." Gao Qinyu indignantly says, "They were childhood sweethearts, and originally they were going to get married next year. Who knew that outside the fog forest, junior sister Lin, who was originally together with Shin Xiaoro, would suddenly disappear? We searched everywhere, but we couldn't find her." "Lin Sitong, by Yichen Sitong, senior Yichen, senior martial brother. I originally promised to be his bride. Miss, I beg you, help me, Give it to Ichinchi Xiang's hands. Tell him not to be sad. Mu Yan's eyes suddenly widen, and she quickly walks over to Bai Chen. With a flick of his wrist, a dark green jade bracelet with red veins on it appeared in his palm. Do you recognize this? Bai Chen's pupils shrank the moment he saw the bracelet. He grabbed Mu Yan's wrist and roared. Where did this come from? Where's Sidong? You've seen her, haven't you? Where is she now? The gentleman in front of her, who was originally like a jade, suddenly lost all his gentleness. His eyes were filled with eagerness and desire. Mu Yan remembers the little girl who died in the fog forest. Even if his dantian was shattered and he was riddled with wounds, he was in unbearable pain. The only thing she cared about was whether senior brother Ichin would be sad. Whether he would be sad. She sighed softly and said, I'm sorry, she's dead. She died in the fog forest. When I saw her, she was on her last breath. I couldn't save her. Bai Ichin's body swayed, and his entire body stiffened. His gentle voice became rough and sharp. You're lying. How could Sidong possibly die? Tell me, where is Sidong right now? I'll go look for her immediately. Gao Qinyu also abruptly comes back to his senses. Junior sister Lin is dead? How is this possible? He looked at Bai Chen in fear. If junior sister Sidong were to die, what would senior brother do? Mu Yan takes a step forward. Ignoring Bai Chen's abnormal behavior, she grabs his hand and shoves the jade bracelet into his palm. She was killed by someone, but before she died, she did not think about revenge, nor did she grieve over her misfortune. She only had one thought in her mind. Bai Chen, don't you want to hear her last words? Bai Chen abruptly lifts his head, his pair of scarlet eyes firmly glaring at Mu Yan. After a long time, he says in a hoarse voice, what did she say? She told me to give this jade bracelet to you, and then she told you that she's sorry, she can't be your bride anymore. However, she hopes that you won't be sad. Only if you live well can she rest in peace. Chapter 203. A pained roar gushes out from Bai Chen's throat. Powerful internal force gushes out from his body, filling the air. Shin Xiaoro and Gao Qinyu turned deathly pale with fright. Even the strange beasts peeping around them retreat one by one because of their instinctive fear. Sidong. He can't hold back his tears any longer, and they fall from the corners of his eyes. You clearly said that you would always be with me. Suddenly, Bai Chen abruptly looks at Mayan, his mind almost collapsing. Who was it? Who killed Sidong? Who did it? Mayan calmly looks at him, spitting out 3 words, Gong Qianxue. Ha! Gao Qinyu sucks in a mouthful of cold air, incredulously saying, Gong Qianxue? Could it be that Jingcheng country's princess, Heavenly Road sect's outstanding disciple, Gong Qianxue, who entered heaven stage earlier than senior brother? Also the number 1 genius in Yinwu continent today. Mayan slowly nods and briefly narrates what she knew on that day. Before Lin Sidong died, she only vaguely described what happened. She already couldn't say a single word more. But Xiao Bao had witnessed everything that had happened. The sacred beast egg. Bai Chen grits his teeth, enunciating each word, that woman. For the sake of a sacred beast egg, she crushed Sidong's dantian? Mayan's expression is gloomy, and she doesn't speak. Xiao Bao suddenly opens his mouth. That sister said that she wanted to give the sacred beast egg to Ichin brother, and that it couldn't be given to a bad woman. Then, the bad woman killed her. Bai Chen's hands tightly clench into fists, his body trembling violently. Blood drips down from the gaps of his fingers. Senior brother, since senior sister Lin is already dead, don't think about her anymore. That's her fate. You will definitely meet someone better in the future. Shin Xiaoro had just been kicked out by Gao Qinyu, and she only crawls back after a long time of dizziness. She just happens to hear the news of Lin Sidong's death, and she immediately goes wild with joy. Lin Sidong is dead, but doesn't that mean that Ichin brother is hers? But before she could finish speaking, she suddenly meets Bai Chen's bloodthirsty eyes. A gentleman as gentle as jade, as elegant as an immortal. At this very moment, he's like a mad beast. She would be torn apart at any moment. Shen Xiaorou was so scared that she stumbled and fell to the ground, unable to say another word. Bai Chen looks at Mayan. Please tell me, where is Sidong buried? Misty Forest. Hearing this answer, Bai Chen did not even ask where he was in the dense fog forest. He turned around and left. What are you planning to do? Mu Yin suddenly called out to him. Bai Chen stopped in his tracks and did not reply. Mayan slowly says, I advise you, it's best not to act blindly without thinking. With your strength, you're not her match. Not only because of Gong Qianxue's cultivation, but also because of the power of Tiandao sect and Jingchen country. Moreover, only a few people knew how much power Gong Qianxue had kept by her side. With just Bai Chen and the Purple Sun sect, there was absolutely no way they could contend against them. Bai Chen spun around fiercely. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with madness. I don't care who she is or what kind of power she has. All I know is that she killed Sidong. Even if I die a horrible death, I will make her pay with her blood. In the end, Bai Chen did not leave right away. That's because the knights in the Wuwang Mountains are too dangerous. He can't abandon his junior brother, Mayan and Xiao Bao. However, the strange thing is that, for some unknown reason, the strange beasts of the Wuwang Mountains did not come out again in the latter half of the night. Chapter 204. The area therein has simply become a vacuum zone. No wild beast dares to approach. Occasionally, a bird carelessly falls and immediately cries out in alarm, desperately flapping its wings to escape. Gao Qinyu and Shen Xiaorou both think that this is Bai Chen's grief and anger, and the pressure he unconsciously emits to scare away the strange beasts. Only Xiao Bao and Mu Yin look down at the white-furred rabbit that's lying on its stomach, snoring loudly. After this night, the rabbit has become a whole circle fatter. But no one noticed that all the strange beasts in the Wuwang Mountains began to disappear without a trace after the fat rabbit returned. As soon as the sky brightens and the line of sight becomes clear, everyone quickly returns to the mountain road. Yin Haoyin and Feng Haidang are waiting in front of the carriage. Seeing Mu Yin and Xiao Bao arrive, the two don't look anxious or nervous. They just respectfully salute and open the curtain. Mu Yin doesn't leave immediately, but looks at Bai Chen instead. After a night of settling, Bai Chen's expression has already calmed down. Only the rims of his eyes are still slightly red. But Mu Yin doesn't know whether it's calmness or insanity that has settled down. Bai Chen steps forward and respectfully bows towards Mu Yin. Many thanks to Miss June and the little Gongzi for helping Sidong. I, Bai Chen, may not be able to repay this great kindness in this life, but I hope that in the next life. Call me Mu Yin. This is my son, Xiao Bao. Mu Yin says softly, in a sense, I also owe Lin Sidong a favor. So, you don't have to repay me. If Lin Sidong hadn't contracted the sacred beast egg, Mu Yin would have been a step too late, and Gong Qianxue would have gotten the sacred beast. But Lin Sidong also died a violent death because of her rebirth. This is what she owes Bai Chen and Lin Sidong. Mu Yin stares at Bai Chen and softens her voice. Gong Qianxue and I have an irreconcilable enmity. One day, I will consign her to eternal damnation. Bai Chen, are you willing to wait? Bai Chen stares blankly at first, then his eyes reveal a grateful expression. But he still shakes his head. There's not a trace of hesitation in his eyes, even a trace of irrevocable determination. Mu Yin, thank you for your kindness. However, Sidong is my fiancée, and she has been murdered. I don't care who caused her death. I must take revenge myself. Mu Yin knows that Bai Chen has already made up his mind. No one could change it. She softly sighs again and throws out a bottle of draft. Drink it at the most critical juncture. Perhaps it can give you a slim chance of survival. If you need my help, go to the Ghost City to find Shin Tuesday. Even if you want to take revenge, you can only do so with your life intact. Uncle Rabbit Lantern. Xiao Bao stepped forward, opened his hand, and placed a black bead in Bai Chen's palm. This is for you from Rabbit. Bai Chen was taken aback. He took the black bead, but he couldn't tell what was so special about it. Also, what did the rabbit mean by giving it to him? Glancing at the fat rabbit in Xiao Bao's arms, he saw that it had turned over, flicked its paws, and slept soundly. However, Since it's Xiaobao's kind intentions, Bai Yichen shows a rare smile. He reaches out and gently strokes Xiaobao's head. Sidong said that after we get married, she will give me a boy and a girl. If, maybe our children will be as cute as Xiaobao. Chapter 205. However, this wish, he will never be able to realize it in this lifetime. His Sidong has left him forever. Xiaobao's beautiful blue eyes flash, and he stretches out his little hand to wipe away the tears on Bai Yichen's face. His childish voice isn't cold, but has a hint of softness. Uncle, don't be sad, that sister said. She's most afraid that senior brother will be sad. Bai Yichen abruptly straightens up and no longer lingers. He quickly leaves. Gao Qinyu stares blankly, and without thinking, he quickly follows. Senior brother, wait for me. Senior brother, why are you leaving? Xin Xiaoro still hasn't reacted. Seeing that Bai Yichen has left, she anxiously shouts, Senior brother, aren't you going to go back to Tianyuan City with me to see my mother? But the answer she gets is Bai Yichen walking further and further away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Xin Xiaoro fiercely stomps her feet, gnashing her teeth. Lin Sitong, that slut, even in death, she still wants to forcibly occupy my senior brother. Serves you right to die without a complete corpse, dying in a foreign land. However, thinking that Lin Sitong is already dead, even if senior brother misses her now. After a long time, he will naturally forget her. At that time, she will still be able to forcibly occupy senior brother. Thinking of this, Shun Xiaoro's mood finally calms down a little, but she still fiercely glares at Mayan. Jun Mayan, if it weren't for your big mouth, senior brother wouldn't have left. Who told you to mention that little slut Lin Sitong? Mayan's lips curl up, but the smile doesn't reach her eyes. You can go with Bai Yichen and the others. Xin Xiaoro's expression immediately stagnates, and she lets out a hollow laugh. Of course, I have to send you home first, little sister Mayan. Father and mother miss you very much. All right, don't delay any longer. Let's hurry up. We'll reach Tianyuan City soon. As soon as she turns around, Xin Xiaoro's face shows a malicious expression. Jun Mayan, how can I leave if I don't go back to Tianyuan City and send you into the fire pit? The Wuwang Mountains won't trap you to death, but when you enter the fire pit, the things that Ghost City gives you will still be mine. Mayan looks at her back as she quickly boards the carriage. Her eyes narrow, and her face shows a mocking smile. Close to noon, Mayan and her party finally enter Tianyuan City. But before going to the Shin family, Mayan tells Yin Haoyan and Feng Haiteng not to travel with her. You guys wait here for Magistrate Dai to deliver the gift, and give him the special draft that I've just refined. After that, there is no need for you to come to the Shun residence. Go directly to the city and buy a courtyard for me. Feng Haiteng glanced at Xin Xiaoro, who was not far away. If we don't follow Miss, what if the Shin family's people bully Miss? Mayan chuckles. Don't worry, Emir Su Yuexiang. I don't care. Su Yuexiang is the current matriarch of the Shin family and also Shan Xiaoro's mother. Feng Haiteng still wanted to say something, but was pulled away by Yin Haoyan. Feng Haiteng only knows that Mu Yin is very strong, but she doesn't know to what extent. But who else could understand Mayan's strength better than Yin Haoyan? Feng Haiteng's small hand was held in Yin Haoyan's broad and rough palm. Her mind was shaken, and she swallowed back all the words she wanted to say. Just like that, she obediently lets him hold her hand, and obediently lowers her head as she follows behind him, heading towards the center of the city. Her beautiful face, which was usually as cold as ice, had a rare blush on it. Chapter 206. It's clear that the two have feelings for each other, but she doesn't know what Yin Haoyan, this blockhead, is tangled up about. Don't wait until it's too late for regrets. Why did you drive away your two servants? Xin Xiaoro asks in surprise when she sees Yin Haoyan and Feng Haiteng leave. Mu Yin doesn't leave, directly treating her as heir. Xin Xiaoro's face distorts in anger, but she soon whispers, Slut, with that big guy around, I wouldn't dare to touch you easily. Now, you're courting death, driving away the people who can protect you. Your good days are over. Turning around, she immediately smiles. Okay, we've been delayed for a long time. let's hurry back to the Shin family. Tianyuan City, Shin family. Shin Xiaoro and Mu Yan's carriage has just stopped at the gate. The guards on both sides see Shin Xiaoro and immediately run over excitedly. Eldest miss, you're back. If you didn't come back, the Lu family would tear down our Shin family. Shin Xiaoro immediately shivers when she hears this, and her face turns pale. Subconsciously, she wants to run. But when she turns around and sees Mu Yin standing behind her, her face immediately changes from fear to joy. She stops and looks at the anxious guard. If the Lu family comes, then so be it. What's there to be afraid of? But the Lu family came. The guard looks at her and hesitates. Moreover, the Lu family came almost every day these days. Madam can't stand it anymore. Okay, I got it. Shin Xiaoro says impatiently, mind your own business, don't talk too much. She turns to face Mu Yin, revealing a smile. Little sister Mu Yin, let's go in quickly. I think mother will be very happy to see you. Really? I miss her very much too. Mu Yin lifts her eyelids, holding Xiao Bao's hand, and slowly follows behind her. The direct culprits of the previous incident have all been killed by her. However, is it really only the Su family who conspired to kill her? Not necessarily, right? In her previous life, she didn't come to settle accounts with them for the sake of her adoptive father and brother. But in this life, since they came to her door, then she will not let go of anyone who tried to frame her and Xiao Bao. The front hall of the Shun family was filled with many people. Su Yuexiang, regarding this marriage, you must give me an explanation today. A rotund woman slammed her fat palm on the table and angrily shouted. The force of the slap was so great that the teacups on the table made a clanging sound. Sitting in the seat of honor, Su Yuexiang's beautiful face was filled with panic and grievance, as if she had been greatly bullied. Wiping her tears with a handkerchief, she said, Patriarch Lu, Madam Lu, this matter is really a misunderstanding. It can't be counted. I think it's better to cancel this engagement. Cancel? What kind of joke is this? When Madame Lu heard this, she became even angrier. She smashed the teacup in her hand on the ground and screamed, Su Yuexiang, I'm telling you, there's no way you can cancel this marriage. Even if your daughter dies, she must marry into my Lu family. Sob, sob, sob. I'm scared. I'm scared. Madame Lu's fury makes the person next to her tremble and sob. Chapter 207. That man's body is twice as big as Madame Lu's. Madame Lu is already considered obese, but this man's flesh is completely horizontal. When he sits on the chair, the flesh on his waist bulges out, directly hanging down to the sides. Looking at his appearance, he's clearly an adult in his 20s, but his face is silly. Snot flows down from his nose from time to time, falling into his mouth. He smacks his lips and swallows it down. Madame Lu is fierce towards Su Yuexiang, but when she sees this fatty, her face immediately changes. Oh, Chung Kai, be good. Mother is marrying you a wife. Wait until you get married, then you can hug your wife to sleep. When Lu Chengkai hears this, he immediately turns crying into joy, clapping his fat hands and shouting, Good, good. Marrying a wife. Stripping her naked and sleeping. Chung Kai likes it. Su Yuexiang only feels nauseous when she hears this. She wants her pampered daughter to marry this kind of fool? Simply a dream. She holds back her anger and disgust, gritting her teeth and saying, Madame Lu, don't go too far. That engagement is just a child's play. It simply doesn't count. What's more, my daughter is now Ziyang Zong's foundation, and her future husband is Yinwu Continent's famous Bai Yichen. I advise you to give up on this idea. My Shin family will not marry our daughter to a... Su Yuexiang still hasn't finished her words. She only hears a loud bang. It's the burly man sitting on the left, slamming his palm on the table. Compared to Madame Lu's palm, which only shook the teacups, this man's palm directly caused a crack to appear on the table. And the hall is also filled with a terrible pressure. Madame Shun, are you saying that my Lu family's son isn't worthy of your Shin family's daughter? Su Yuexiang looks at the fiendish Lu family's master and suddenly shivers. Her heart is simply regretting to the point that her intestines turn green. At that time, in order to get the Lu family's help, she promised to become in-laws with them. Su Yuexiang's original plan was very good. She wanted to directly pass off that displeasing little goblin as Shun family's daughter and marry that fool of the Lu family. But she didn't expect that little goblin to be so unyielding. Before she could marry him, she committed suicide. Now, this marriage had actually fallen into the hands of her precious daughter. Su Yuexiang forced out a smile and said, "Patriarch Lu, please calm down. I didn't mean it that way." But she didn't finish her sentence. A high-pitched female voice came from outside. "Uncle Lu, don't worry. My mother didn't mean that. Since this marriage was agreed to by my mother, she will naturally keep her promise." As he spoke, Shun Xiaoro's figure leisurely walked over with an arrogant smile on her face. When Su Yuexiang saw her daughter, she was delighted. When he heard Shun Xiaoro's words, his expression changed. "Roer, you." Shun Xiaoro smiled faintly and said meaningfully, "Mother, don't worry. Isn't the Lu family just going to marry a daughter of the Shin family? We'll just marry one of them." Madame Lu and Patriarch Lu, on the other hand, happily said, "So to say, Xiaoro, you are planning to marry into our Lu family and become our Qingcai's daughter-in-law?" As soon as Lu Chengkai saw Shin Xiaoro, his saliva flowed even more fiercely. His plump body straightened up and pounced towards Shun Xiaoro. "Wife, beautiful wife, let's strip naked and sleep." Chapter 208. Scram! Damn fatty. She pushed him away heavily, using her profound energy. Lu Chengkai immediately fell to the ground and fell on his face, crying loudly. Patriarch Lu and Madame Lu's complexions instantly became gloomy. "Shin Xiaoro, what do you mean by this?" Shin Xiaoro resisted the nausea and hurriedly went forward to help Lu Chengkai up. Only then did he pull out a smile and say, "Lu family head, Madame Lu, please don't misunderstand. My Shin family has an engagement with your Lu family, but there's no stipulation on which daughter is to be married over, right? I'm not the only daughter in the Shin family." Madame Lu was startled. "What do you mean?" A strange smile appeared on Shan Xiaoro's face. Lifting the curtain, she let Madame Lu and the rest look outside. In a pavilion in the courtyard, a girl dressed in white was leaning against the railing. Her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall, and her skin was as smooth as snow. She was so beautiful that she didn't seem like a mortal. What was even more shocking was her temperament. His posture was clearly languid and leisurely, but there was a kind of otherworldly and dignified aura in his every movement. It was as if the Empyrean fairy from the 9 heavens had fallen into the mortal world. Patriarch Lu's eyes widened as he gulped down a mouthful of saliva. Lu Chengcai's saliva dripped down like rain. "Beauty. Fairy. Sister fairy. I want this. Chengcai wants sister fairy. I don't want this ugly monster." When Shun Xiaoro heard this, her nose almost became crooked from anger. This fool actually dared to call her ugly? However, thinking of being able to marry Mayan to this disgusting fool, Shun Xiaoro's anger subsided again. She smiled sinisterly and said, "How about it? Are Patriarch Lu and Madame Lu satisfied with this future wife?" "Yes, very satisfied." Family head Lu nodded his head repeatedly. Seeing this, Madame Lu's face contorted. "No, just because you say she's a daughter of the Shin family, she's a daughter of the Shin family? What if you get a fake to fool my Lu family?" Before Shin Xiaoro could say anything, Lu Chengkai was already indignant. He sat down on the ground and cried loudly, "I want fairy sister. I want fairy sister. I don't want this ugly monster." "Good, good. Then marry this one. Marry this. As long as Chengkai likes it, it's fine." How could Madame Lu win against her son? She was immediately defeated. At this moment, Shun Xiaoro's face finally revealed a complacent smile. "Since that's the case, why don't we set the wedding date as soon as possible? I think we should set it for 7 days from now. Men and women of Jianghu, this is an urgent matter. There's no need for 3 matchmakers or 6 betrothal gifts. The Lu family can just send a bridal sedan chair to take her away." When the Lu family heard that they could gain such a big advantage, how could they not be happy? Shinsharo continued. But you also know that my fairy-like sister would definitely not be willing to marry young Master Lu. Even if it's the orders of our parents or the words of a matchmaker, if she resists with all her might, my mother and I can't do anything to her. Ha ha ha. You don't have to worry about this. Patriarch Lu patted his chest loudly, but his eyes revealed a ruthless glint. There's no one that my Lu family can't get if we want them. If a little girl wants to resist, she'll have to see if she can get out of my grasp first. While speaking, the Lu family's patriarch emitted an earth tear pressure, causing Xiansharo's complexion to change, and she retreated several steps. Chapter 209. Is that person really Junmayan? Su Yuexiang's voice abruptly interjects. Shinsharo turns around and nods. Yes, mother, that slut Junmayan actually didn't die. I suspect that the deaths of my aunt and cousin are related to this slut. Mother, I made that slut suffer a fate worse than death. It can be considered as revenge for aunt, cousin brother, and cousin sister. Su Yuexiang curled her lips in disdain, then frowned slightly. Su Yuexiang had no feelings for Su Zhiyong's family. The reason was that Su Zhiyong's team was too useless. His older brother, Su Dingon, was already in his 40s, but he was only in the middle of the yellow class. Su Zhiyong, on the other hand, hadn't even reached the yellow class before he died. He was only at the beginning of ancient martial arts. Back then, they were asked to deal with Mayan because they were the easiest to order around, and no one would notice. If this kind of trash died, then so be it. She, Su Yuexiang, would not care about him. But how could Junmayan come back alive? In Su Yuexiang's mind, she can't help but recall the group of black-clothed men who asked her about Junmayan's background and the bloodline of the unborn child in her belly. That group of black-clothed men was so powerful that it made people shudder. Weren't those people going to kill Mayan? How could he allow this woman to live? Mother, what's wrong? Don't tell me you don't agree to let that slut marry into the Shin family instead of me? Shinsharo's voice rang out, bringing Su Yuexiang back to her senses. Agree? Of course I agree. Rower, you've really grown up and can share your mother's worries. Hee. Junmayan was pregnant out of wedlock at that time, and had already lost her chastity. She's a fickle slut, and the Lu family can carry her in a sedan chair. She should be laughing up her sleeve. However, during this period of time, we must find someone to keep a close eye on her. We must not let her run away before the Lu family comes to carry her away. In the courtyard, Mayan peels a grape and sends it to Xiao Bao's mouth. She chuckles softly. Baby, don't be so serious. If you frown too much, you'll become a little old man. Xiao Bao shuddered. That annoying lecher immediately appeared in his mind. Was he going to become a little old man, like that lecher? No way. Xiao Bao puffed out his cheeks and slightly arched his eyebrows, meaning that he had laughed. However, this little adult appearance makes Mayan convulse with laughter. When he was done laughing, he asked, Baby, why are you so angry? Little Bao's expression suddenly turned grim. Because they want to scheme against Mother. Just now, he had just casually walked around the house and circulated his Xian Qi to the ear acupuncture point. All the sounds in the room were transmitted into his ears. Those scoundrels wanted to scheme against his mother, so he wouldn't let those scoundrels succeed. Xiao Bao clenched his small fists. Xiao Bao will protect Mother. Mu Yin looks at the room that Shinsharo entered with a smile that isn't a smile. Shinsharo asked her to wait here for a while. She waited here and didn't go in. But that didn't mean she didn't know what was happening inside. Mu Yin withdraws her gaze, picks up Xiao Bao and kisses him on the cheek. Don't worry about those boring things. Doesn't Xiao Bao want to go with Nyang Qin to see the place where Nyang Qin grew up? Xiao Bao immediately nods. Although there's no expression on his little face, his pair of blue eyes are sparkling. There used to be a swing here. Father personally made it for me. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.